Welcome to another edition of the Vigilance Committee. We are doing an open panel tonight, so text all of your friends and family and people that you know in the auditing community, and we'll get them up on panel so they can talk about anything that they want to talk about. And having said that, I'm going to start our introduction here. Here we go. All right, and we already have somebody that's on our open panel tonight. He's wanting to share a success story that he's had. Phoenix, who is our ADA auditor, he makes sure that people are compliant with the ADA. And Nikki, before we get started here, though, do you have any housekeeping items you want to throw out there for us?
Oh, I could say I've got lots, I've got dust bunnies and dog hair and spider webs, but anyway, I do want to let everybody know thank you for being here. Thank you, Freddie, for taking the few seconds out to come over and say hello. Um, but we have good news, I guess, and bad news. On Sunday, we will be starting an hour early, which is great, I guess, for some people. But the best news is that we are going to be featuring an auditor from Down Under. We will have Aussie Nathan. He has agreed to join us at 3:30 in the morning his time.
Yeah, the next
So,
morning.
yeah, Monday morning.
Yeah. Um,
Um, I want to say hello to everybody. The usual culprits: Stephanie, Integrity Now News, Daisy May, Oklahoma, STD 58. Four Corners was in here earlier. Wingspan Angel, um,
oh,
Mr. Carey,
don't forget this other culprit. Culprit. Culture Club
culprit.
USA in the house.
Um, I just like I said, I want to make sure that everybody knows. Oh, and Brandon.
Brandon Mitchell in the house. All
Hello.
right. Good to see him.
Yes, I'll let Aussie Nathan know you need the Powerball numbers. Anyway, I just, I'm glad that we are actually reaching, I guess you could say, halfway across the world and bringing attention to the issues not only here but everywhere, which is something that Cliff and I have wanted to do for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting anyway. We'll get different perspectives from other countries and the issues that they're going through and the laws, law differences, and probably different constitutions, I would imagine, as well. So, but that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Now, there is one particular video I wanted to share before I start anything else, and it's because we just got some interesting news from for public safety. they're going to be making an official announcement tomorrow about their win on their no-knock raid lawsuit. So that's going to be really good. Everybody needs to make sure they tune in to his channel for that big announcement tomorrow. So, but I wanted to share this because I was watching this yesterday. Let me go ahead and present it. It's talking about no-knock warrants in general. And I'm not going to show the whole thing, but because I don't even know how this gentleman would react to it showing his stuff, but I'm going to show it anyway. And because I think it's important that everyone knows about these no-knock warrants and how they need to go away. And that's Delete Laws. So be sure and put his link in the channel. And everyone should subscribe to Delete Laws and just look at the body of work that he's doing. But what's really important here is about no-knock warrants all across America that have been happening. We need to get this type of stuff changed big time. We're taking too many losses on this as well. The auditing community in general, we're taking a lot of losses, and there's going to be more to come on that. I can't really divulge too much information, but it's horrific how our auditors are being treated. So having said that, let's go ahead and just start this from.
Imagine a SWAT team raids a house, battering doors, breaking windows, and coating everything inside with tear gas residue. Now imagine the SWAT team had the wrong address. Who do you think would pay for the damage? If you said insurance, you're probably wrong. If you said the city, you're probably also wrong.
So, Jeff, one of the people that experienced this is Vicky Baker in Texas. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So Vicky Baker's story is pretty typical for these SWAT cases. So she owned this house in McKinney, Texas. It's a suburb.
Interesting. They're talking about Texas already. And I think we all know just how police operate in Texas. It's the whole state. It's horrible.
North of Dallas, and it was on the market. She was relocating to Montana, and it was actually under contract. She was going to close in like a week. Well, the McKinney police showed up with the SWAT team. They surrounded the entire house. They blew up the garage door, like literally with explosives. They knocked down the fence. They used these Bearcats.
Oh,
Which are like tanks.
you got to remind me. We got to get.
I know. I forgot until just then. It was like, oh man, I forgot to remind him.
Yeah, we got to pay to get non-commercial, so we don't have to watch commercials on our live streams. All right, here we go.
Right.
Yeah, they're basically like tanks. And then they absolutely saturated the whole thing with tear gas, like over 60 canisters. And I didn't know this until I was doing these SWAT cases, but it turns out that tear gas is like unbelievably destructive. It's non-lethal, but it basically gets into anything porous and destroys it. So like drywall, carpeting, flooring, all of the personal property in the house pretty much had to be torn out and thrown out. And that was over $60,000 worth of damage, even when she was like half moved out. So the house is trashed. Obviously, the sale doesn't go through. And it turns out the city won't pay her. They say, you know, our police officers acted lawfully, so there's nothing you can do. Her insurance company said your policy has an exclusion for acts of government authority. And most people don't know this, but this is actually really common. Almost every insurance policy excludes damage done by the government. So our client, Vicky, was like totally out of luck. She thought that she was going to have to, you know, get money out of her retirement accounts to try to cover this and repair it.
So, is what happened to Vicky exceptional? How common is this sort of situation?
Nationwide, I think it's pretty common. We hear about a situation like this where it's an innocent owner and a SWAT team trashes the property probably every few weeks.
It's dramatic video of a SWAT team raid. Cops in gas masks search a house from top to bottom. With guns drawn, they search every room looking for a murder suspect. But there's a major problem. The family who live here say the cops got the wrong house. Mom of two, Amy Hadley, says they completely ransacked her house.
That's not the right house.
She says the cops launched dozens of tear gas grenades into the house. Hadley, who works as a medical assistant in South Bend, Indiana, says they shattered windows, punched holes in walls, ransacked furniture and closets, and left the home in complete disrepair.
There's glass in the beds. We couldn't even sleep in our house. My son and I had to sleep outside. The tear gas was that bad.
The raid took place 18 months ago. After Hadley filed a lawsuit for the cost of repairs, the video has been made public. Did you ever get an apology from the police or an offer to pay for the damage?
Oh, absolutely not.
So what happened?
No, because if they apologize, then they could face a lawsuit, and they don't really care. It's like, that would be admitting guilt, right? Yeah, and and they've all got qualified immunity anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's why they don't have to care. That's why they get it wrong a lot of times. Yeah, the wrong house, and it happens all the time. Police delivery drivers can get the pizza to the right place, but cops do raids on wrong houses all the time. So.
And it's not just the fact that it's wrong houses, it's the fact that they use outdated information. There was one house that got raided, and I forget where, but it was on, it kind of was big at the time, where they did a raid on the house and threw the pepper balls and stuff in, the flashbang grenades in, and there was a child who ended up having to go to the hospital, a little toddler, because they were using outdated information from 2 years ago that somebody that they may have been looking for supposedly lived at that house. It like Cliff and I have said, it's not just in Texas, it's not just Houston or Dallas. It is everywhere. It's in the big cities, it's in the small towns.
Yeah.
And like Cliff said, if they apologize, they admit that they were wrong, and they're not going to do that. Not only that, it's the homeowners themselves who end up paying for all the damage. So, you know.
Hey, Brandon,
Brandon's
I'm ready to
here.
put you on stage if you want it. There you go.
What's that?
Hey, Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
I just got charged $100 for somebody to flip a light switch, but that's okay.
Yeah, so this no-knock, these no-knock raids, did you have something that you wanted to add to this? Or just hanging out until you got something to say?
I just popped up because it's open panel.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad to have you. All right, let's continue here.
And with Vicky specifically.
Well, it was a bit of a legal roller coaster. So initially, we sued the city of McKinney in federal court, and we argued that the destruction of her house, of her property, it was lawful, but it was a taking. Just like if the government took your house with eminent domain to build a road or a school or a jail, they destroyed her property for public use to get a dangerous criminal off the street. And the federal
Daisy May makes a really good point here. They get it wrong a lot, and I contend, hey, maybe they're just looking for the adrenaline rush. They don't want to go to the right place and actually be in real danger, but they want to raid something. It's the adrenaline rush, excitement. Let's do it, and there's no repercussions. Qualified immunity.
They still don't fix the damages.
Yeah, they don't fix the damages because they don't care, because they don't have to. So it's like, yeah. And I think that's why they get it wrong. They get that adrenaline rush, act like they're the military, and they're kicking down doors in Afghanistan or something. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, and Chill with Claiborne says, what needs done for change to the no-knock warrants?
But I think they need to do away with them. That's my opinion, but I'm right.
I'm
Oklahoma,
Barry Cooper. Barry Cooper says everybody needs to build like a jail inside their front door. That way when they get in, they still have to get through the jail.
Yeah. I mean, that's is that what it's coming down to, though? We got to put, turn our home into a jail, so if they get in, they can't get out.
Makes it harder for them to get in.
Steve Cousins says, please fill me in. Of course, he's in New Zealand. So,
Okay.
do your police walk in, wreck the place, then just walk away? Don't tell me yes.
Yes.
I won't tell
Yes.
you yes, but yes.
Yes.
Your answer is yes.
Exactly what happens.
That's exactly what happens, Steve Cousins.
And
In our free
nobody pays
America.
for the damage.
Yep. Nobody pays for the damage either. Yep. Yeah. America's free. The United States is great. And it is. It's a great country. It's just our government is out of control here. So here we go.
Federal trial court actually agreed with us. It said that this is a taking under the Fifth Amendment. It said that some other decisions by other courts had been poorly reasoned on this issue. And we ended up getting about $60,000 in a jury trial for her. But then we went up on appeal to the Fifth Circuit, and that verdict got...
They appealed the $60,000 because they didn't want to pay it. So they're willing to spend all that court money to appeal a ruling because they don't want to have to ever pay again, right? So they've got to make sure and fight it all the way so that they don't have to pay these things when they come up. And yet they don't try to stop mistakes in the first place. It's just absolutely crazy.
Got reversed. It was a surprising ruling because the Court of Appeals basically said that everything the town had been arguing for getting this verdict overturned was wrong. What the court did was it looked at these old cases and then it basically said, this is just like what the government's doing here. It was necessary to damage this property in order to promote the greater good. The problem is that all of those old necessity cases are about the private tort of necessity and whether
and
an
they're
individual...
about paying, right? Like if you said if you break the lock, you have to pay for the lock, but you're not a trespasser.
Well, that's in cases of private necessity because you got the benefit of it. In cases of public necessity, you're generally out of luck if it's just a private person that destroyed your property for the public good.
Oh, so if I tear down people's houses to prevent a fire, I don't have to pay them for those houses if it's deemed necessary.
That's the old common law rule.
Okay.
But there are also cases that the Fifth Circuit didn't look at, didn't see, maybe because this issue was never briefed.
Nikki, I'll let you take this one on.
All right, Steve, if it's the wrong house, that should be illegal, correct? Can the wrong homeowner sue? Please say yes. Unfortunately, I'm going to say no. They can sue.
Absolutely
yes.
not.
They can sue, yes. But if they do get a win, what happens is exactly what this guy is saying. The city or the county, whichever department it was, will appeal it, and then they fall back onto the common tort laws or the public tort laws, where once again the government is not wrong. We're not
They
going
can
to take
weasel.
responsibility for it.
Yep, they can weasel out of it. Oh my Lord! Look, here comes trouble.
Yeah,
For public
no,
safety.
not trouble, not trouble. Hi, Tub Waffle, how you doing?
What's up, Tub Waffles? I won't be able to stay long. I just wanted to come. I think the other day you guys misunderstood what I was saying in chat, and I think you wanted me to use this platform to explain what I was.
Absolutely, if you wanted to, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to not leave you hanging because, I think you wanted me to explain it. It really only was in the moment. So you might need to sort of update your audience on what we're talking about. Do you remember, Cliff?
I don't even remember now. That was the last show,
Okay.
man.
You were playing a video.
Yeah.
A video in which a person was up against dealings with the open records process. The audience was saying that it was illegal for them to refuse the records. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, that is a fact. That it is against the state's open records laws, which is backed by FOIA. So the Freedom of Information Act actually protects those rights to records, and then every state has their records processes that are following the FOIA rules. Okay, now here's what we learned, and this is what I was trying to share. If you really start breaking down and learning all of those laws that are in place to enforce that you receive your records and how you receive them, and if they're on time, if they're following, you know what I'm saying, following everything properly. When you look at those laws, this is what the police have to do. So what I'm describing here is I want to help people understand why police might even show up and still not do anything about it to the person that's violating the records law. And that's what I'm trying to explain here. So it's not all that the cops just refusing you. He's not necessarily on team A or B. One of the things that Tiffany and I have learned is that in the law, where it's written that it's against the law for them to do XYZ, not give them to you somehow, that when cops can charge, there has to be in the description of that law what the penalty is. Okay. So like, let's say it's a misdemeanor statute. There's going to be a penalty to that misdemeanor statute, whether it be $1,000 fine up to 1 year in jail. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these records laws inside of the records law, they don't have penalties.
They just call it a misdemeanor, but then there's no penalties if you're found
Well, there
guilty
might
of
not
it.
even be. It might not even be a misdemeanor, depending on what the thing is. It might
Oh my
just simply be a violation. Now, that's part of the problem.
There could be fines. That could be civil litigation then, right?
And that's why they end up telling you usually you got to do it from civil end. Yes, you can point to the statute. Yes, you could tell a judge, here's what I'm talking about. Here's the statute. It is illegal. But that does not mean that a police officer can necessarily do anything about it on scene. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's just another loophole that the government can use to get out of facing criminal charges for what they do and how they operate.
Or, yes, or it could also be the way they see it, which is the jurisdiction that's responsible for that situation. They're saying civil court's the place to take this up.
Yeah.
That's the jurisdiction that this thing falls under.
Well, I wish that, when we commit misdemeanors or if somebody commits misdemeanors, maybe they could just sue us for committing those misdemeanors.
Yeah. Right.
Not gonna happen.
I guess what you can take out of it, though, is that the states are seeing these violations as so minute, in fact, that the only necessary option is just to have to sue them. You know what I mean? Like take them to civil court. They're not even thinking that these are egregious enough acts to have some type of penalty necessarily.
Right. But then even if you sue them, though, for public safety, it's not going to create change. These people that are in charge of FOIA are still going to do the things that they do, so you can't get the information to do what you need to do as a journalist.
Yep, because not everybody can go see them.
Yeah,
Don't forget, it's not just journalists that need records. It's also people who have legal issues going on that need the
absolutely.
records to whatever they're dealing with.
But
Yeah.
honestly, they don't care, FPS.
No, well, why would they if there's no penalty, right? Like,
Exactly.
if I'm a clerk and I know that you can't even get a cop to find me if you call them. I'm a lot less
Yeah,
likely to give
hey.
a shit about your problem.
Yeah. Chief Deputy Whited is a friend of mine, so I'm just not going to give you any information. Yeah, and I'm going to keep some away. What can you do about it? Nothing. I
Well,
mean,
you can.
you can sue me.
Right. And if you think that does nothing, you'd be sadly mistaken. But
Well, it
the
doesn't make
process
change.
is
I know it does do something, but it doesn't create change to stop him from doing it in the future.
no,
You know
but
what I mean?
it's still a violation. It's just that at the end of
Yeah.
the day, the judge can't look at say Scarborough for refusing the records, can't look at him and say, well, it says right here, in the Kentucky statute that if you don't give these people the records that they requested within 45 days, that I can put you in jail for 2 years. So that's not there. You know what I'm saying? So the problem is that in civil court, the judge has to determine, or maybe even a jury, they're going to have to determine, well, what should we do about this situation? So it's up to them, not necessarily the criminal codes. The criminal codes almost always tell the civilians, the citizens, what you're facing if you violate XYZ statute. Okay. And then a lot of these government, the ones that are written to the government at the end of the statute, it does not have a penalty. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Now, I think in Florida is an example of one of the states, because I saw it in one of Rogue's videos, that they actually do have a penalty written in their sunshine.
Yeah, the sunshine laws for the state of Florida.
There's actually a penalty on theirs though for the government employees.
Yeah, their Open Records Act is awesome. In Florida, they're very pro transparency. In a lot of cases.
And a lot of states are like a lot of courts in different states are actually using Florida's sunshine laws to cite in their cases against, for transparency cases.
And I think that's that's why we've got so many auditors down in Florida that are succeeding in what they're doing, and it's because of the Records Act that they have down there. I believe. I think they correlate each other.
They're doing better than the rest.
Yeah,
but they are, and I'll agree with that. But that being said, how can we, the people who are supposed to be running our country, make sure that these rules or regulations that are put out by the federal government, basically your FOIA Act, how can we, the people, make sure that those laws and regulations have teeth to let people know that if they don't follow it, then there's going to be punishment?
well, I think that the going after the states and making the states through legislation have teeth would be easier than trying to do this on a federal level.
Well, okay, no, the federal level is already
it's already out there.
Yeah. Every state has to have an open records process because of FOIA. So every state has one by law. Now, the way it's enforced is what your answer is to Nikki there. The problem is that some states like Indiana, in those laws for those government employees to follow, right, the federal guidelines, there are no punishments in there. So the only thing that can be done is civil court action against that person.
Right.
You
So if
know,
you want criminal punishment to be in there, you have to go to your state legislatures and have them put the teeth in their state
right. You have to
open
work through your
records. Yeah.
senators to get it to your
Yep.
Congress. But the problem that you're going to run into is that, well, I mean, I don't know if how many people that are watching right now have actually gone to their senators with issues. And you tell me, did it get past the senator? Did it get to legislation? Did your congressman speak about it on the panel? You know, probably not. You know,
Right.
Let me
Right.
tell you, all government cares about is big business. They don't give a shit about us people.
they don't give a shit about your rights. Matter of fact, I mean, I just got done with an hour-long spiel on my channel where, you know, the SCOTUS literally just passed prosecutorial immunities to the president a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
and Trump is running on a campaign saying he's going to give all law enforcement the federal immunity, as if it's not
Indemnity.
bad enough
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Indemnity. Yeah.
If you all don't realize what that means is that your civil
Super
action
immunity.
when it comes to the government, you ain't getting nothing.
It's null and void
You won't get past immunity.
on the spot.
Yep. Ask anybody who's ever tried to sue a judge, and you'll understand the protection that federal level immunity offers.
Yeah. Even Chile with delete laws announced that he can't sue that judge.
Yeah,
There's no lawyer even take that
judicial
on.
immunity. Judicial immunity is what it's called.
Yep.
Right. And that's
the
nowhere
reason.
near the level of federal. And what I'm trying to tell you is Trump is
Yep.
running on the campaign of saying, and he's going to do it. When he gets presidency, he is giving federal immunity to every single cop in the nation.
Probably every single government employee,
In the nation.
whether they're at the city, county, state level. Yeah.
There goes your ability to take action B. So if
Yep.
the states don't have any punishments in something as simple as a transparency law for open records, in other words, there is nothing that the police can do when you have to have a copy of a record for court or whatever, and they don't give it to you, and it's written in the law that they have to. If it isn't written in there that they could serve up to 1 year in jail for doing that, then the cop can't even arrest them at the end of the thing. And now you couple that up with, hey, well, I could have gone to civil court. No, not if Trump gets presidency, because now they're going to have federal level immunity. So every lawyer is going to tell you, no way.
Yeah.
Well, that's when it reverts back to the congressman. You have to be on your congressman and hope they will do something about it, because that's the only way to overthrow something like that is through legislation.
Yeah, and Brandon, I don't understand how he could do that by executive order anyway. He's going to have to get that through Congress, I would think.
I would think it's definitely going to need a 2/3 vote.
Congress is in his
Wow.
pocket. You just
You
saw that.
really think Congress will do that then?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This
Okay.
Congress, yeah.
And you all saw what happened with SCOTUS and the decision in his 33 felonies. They actually gave him immunity. That's the only thing he argued.
His felonies were bullshit anyways.
They were.
Yeah, he
They
didn't
were.
argue
Now,
his innocence.
even with all that being said, okay, the FOIA Act, the federal level FOIA Act, basically allowed the states to say how they were going to get this transparency. It doesn't say that they have to have the papers available. It doesn't say that they can email you. There's states out there that tell you that the only way you can get FOIA information is by coming into the office
Mhm.
to pick it up.
Yep.
Or
It
yeah,
depends
or
on the
to
state.
The only way I can get it is through writing.
Now let me explain something to you, Nikki. You're understanding this properly, but backwards. The states and the federal are separation of power. states, you know, when we had civil war, the states separated the federal powers from the states. So the states have their own powers, and the feds are not allowed to step on those states' powers unless it's been determined by Congress that
Okay.
Yeah, that
Hang
it
on,
steps on the Constitution.
right.
hang on.
They can't, or if it's constitutional violation. So there you go.
All right.
That's when
Housekeeping.
John,
federal gets
are you
jurisdiction.
ready to come up, or do you want to turn your camera off? Okay.
There we go. Phyllis Peterson is in the house. Phyllis, I'm very glad to
Phyllis.
see you in our chat. I've heard about some things that you might have been going through, and I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm very glad to see you. So just wanted to put that out there.
We missed you, Phyllis. We were all so worried about you.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, John, go ahead.
Good
Tell us
evening,
what's on
John.
your mind, my friend.
How you guys doing?
What's up, buddies?
Hey, you know, it's funny that you guys are talking about this subject because this is actually one that I just had an issue with in the state of New Hampshire dealing with record requests. And I actually had to take it to the Superior Court up there and just to get the release of the records that I was looking for. And it took me a year,
Yep.
literally over a year.
Why am I not
And-
surprised?
And that was just you. They got you done. They'll do the same thing to the next person.
Yeah, and here's the best part. You ready for this? When I requested the records, I requested them last July. I didn't get them until after the year was up, and I had to file a motion to compel with the court in order to get them to literally come up with the stuff. And then to boot, I was threatened with sanctions if I proceeded to go further with the case because they destroyed the cell phones that I was looking for text messages from. This is what you got to deal with, folks. And this is
Yep.
just one guy. And I'm going
Mhm.
against, not only am I going against the attorney for the entity that I sued, but you're going against the attorney general for the state.
State. Yep.
Yep. This is how they get away with their criminal activities. This is how they get away with winning lawsuits by default, because a lot of times they just run out the clock on you because you can't get enough information to have a successful lawsuit anyway because of FOIA. And what they're doing with records, they're not releasing records, and this is happening all over the country. So,
Well,
Cliff, can I help? Can I offer a correction on your terminology?
yeah,
I see
absolutely,
this-
because my terminology is never any good.
Well, I mean, it's just, you're not wrong when you say FOIA, but I think that because we generalize all records,
And that's what I was
processes to
doing.
be regulated by FOIA.
Yeah,
everyone
there's
says
Cora.
FOIA.
Some states have Cora, some states have Grandma, some states
They all have.
Sunshine. I mean,
They all have. Every state has their own records process law.
Yep.
But here's what I'm going to say. If you're only talking about FOIA, like when you are doing an actual FOIA request, it's when you're requesting a federal record.
Okay.
Now, that's one way to look at what FOIA is. Now, on the other hand, every state recognizes their records process to be under FOIA as well. So, like, I could call my state for a state record and say, I want to make a FOIA request for this state officer's body cam, and they're gonna agree that it's a FOIA request. So it does get confusing, but it doesn't mean, like, I just like the terminology of saying state records versus federal records, because we the people don't
Wanda
necessarily.
Mize makes a good point here. He just says, I say it plainly, public records. So, I mean, it could be federal or state, right? Anybody can take it.
Yeah, if you're using the term public records. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to say FOIA either. You are making a FOIA request even on state records or even city records, ordinance stuff, whatever. But just so that people understand records, it would probably help to, break down the terminology until people all get the hang of doing it, if
Right.
that ever happens.
Good point.
Well, you also have to remember too that it also goes by the state, because like in Colorado, I've been dealing with issues out in Colorado. In Colorado, the CORA is what they call it out there, the Colorado Open Records Act, and FOIA go hand in hand. So some states will do that. Now, Arkansas is a different beast altogether, because if you don't live in the state of Arkansas, you can't request records from Arkansas if you live out of the state. And if I remember correctly, Sarah Sanders Huckabee just passed some kind of law down there limiting the way you can do requests too.
Kentucky does the same thing. They don't offer public records unless they publish it to out-of-state residents, or unless you work or pay taxes in Kentucky. Now we're talking about the state requests.
Right.
Yeah, I can speak for South Carolina. In South Carolina, they have, it's FOIA, but when it comes to body cameras, they limit, you have to be subject of the body camera. In other words, if I am the subject of the video, that means they were videoing me, then I can FOIA request a copy of the body camera. But if it's not me and I'm not the subject of the body camera, I'm not entitled to a copy of it.
That's the same here in Kansas. But they won't even give you the video. They make you come up and watch it.
Yeah, Fact the Madness in North Carolina. He's been going through it there, trying to figure out how to get body cam footage. You can't get them. Period. They're not. They don't consider them public record in North Carolina.
Well, and in Montana's the same way.
Yep, you have to be
able to get any part of the a public record, especially body camera or information from a law enforcement entity. You have to be a subject of a lawsuit, or a subject of getting the ticket, or a subject of the body cam, and
defendant or a plaintiff. Yeah.
And then to top it all off, you can't just write to get it. You actually have to go into that law enforcement building, wherever it may be, request it, and wait for it to be available before you can even get it in Montana.
You have to go
It all
in and get your
depends.
records. Mm-hmm.
Let me say this. We as a nation currently have been on the right track for pushing for open records and transparency within our government. They've been, first of all, you got to give leniency to understanding this. When it comes to doing business, the United States government is usually going to be like the bottom of the bucket of any paid services that you could get out there in any business. In other words, compare, say, the license branch to a business that's privately owned that's doing something similar. They're slow. They suck. It takes them years to implement things that their competitors are doing. You know what I'm saying? We're stuck at the bottom of the barrel.
No way. Our government, inept, incompetent,
super slow.
Things
Super slow. Now, you take that in consideration and you look at the...
Stop. You're making me feel a little. Stop. I'm laughing too hard. Stop.
Take that in consideration and look at the progress we've made over the past 10 years. Okay? We are pushing them really hard. We, the people, are pushing the government really hard at getting body cameras, making the footage available, making open records. I mean, we got FOIA accomplished. That regulation is there. There has been case laws made. There's been lawsuits that have been won and filed and won. We are making progress right now towards transparency and pushing our government to share information with us. We're doing good on that level.
Just not fast enough for me.
It's probably going to cease real soon.
Yeah.
Well,
That
I
it's
can
going to
tell you,
stop soon.
I could tell you, I placed a record request. My daughter was pulled over for speeding, and the guy was running LiDAR. So I did some checking into LiDAR, and they're supposed to calibrate the machines once a year. So I requested the certificate for the calibration. I requested his dash cam. I requested his body cam. I got an email literally a week and a half ago from the Massachusetts State Police, right? Asking me if I still wanted the body cam footage and the dash cam footage along with the certifications a year and a half after the case had already been heard. Luckily, she got it thrown out because of due process violations. But at the end of the day, when you have to wait a year and a half and then they reach out to you, there's a problem.
Yeah, that's really weird. Anyway, it's like now we want you to release it. And before they were hiding everything. What do you think changed, and why would they want to reach out to you and let you have the footage now, John?
Well, my guess would be because the case is over, and they figured that a lot of, in Massachusetts, what they do up here is they'll send a representative in to represent the officer who writes the ticket. Well, the problem that I have with that is the officer that they send in isn't the guy that wrote the ticket. So they'll put you in front of a clerk magistrate instead of a judge. So now you have to argue your case against the clerk magistrate, and then you have to argue your case with a guy who didn't even write the ticket, that has no knowledge of why the ticket was issued. So essentially, you can't ask questions. So your hands are tied, literally. And
Wow.
what will happen is the clerk magistrate will always find in favor of the police department up here. It's a given.
That's everywhere.
Exactly. And then you have to turn around, and then you have to appeal that. Then you have to appeal that, and then you go in front of a judge, and then you have to be prepared. And if you're not prepared to literally tear that cop apart when you question him, you're going to lose again.
Speaking of that notion, here in Indiana, the prosecutors in Indiana, our prosecutors are actually the highest law enforcement position that there is in the state. They are cops. So who are they going to side with?
The cops. Blue line.
Always.
Yep.
To
In
me,
South
that would be a
Carolina,
conflict of interest, but
in South Carolina, the prosecutor schedules the court, the felony court dockets. The prosecutors themselves schedule the court docket. So that means the prosecutor can say, "Oh, judge, oh yeah, we're golf buddies. I'll schedule him under this judge here." And you think you get a fair trial?
now there's a lot of holes in our protection systems of balances all over the entire legal system. I mean, so much so that it doesn't function. Any good lawyer will tell you that, they're just trying to make it to retirement because the whole system's screwed.
Yeah, our
Culture Club.
state Supreme Court has already said that is a violation of the state constitution, separation of powers doctrine, because when the prosecutor schedules the docket, he's now performing an executive function. He's not allowed to do that as a prosecutor.
Culture Club. That was a great question that you had up there. Nikki unfortunately moved it, and I can't read it, but you should definitely come up here. You've got some things that you
Culture
could add to
Club
this.
has a premiere.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
she's not up here.
Okay.
Her question was, the entire system is corrupt. None of us will disagree. But how do we change it?
Well, you have to implement more and more and more laws and balances. As loopholes are not only figured out but abused, these abuses case by case need to be addressed, and then it needs to result in the implementation of new processes.
You know, and to kind of piggyback on that too is I think part of the issue here is I think that by changing the process and changing the law, I mean, to hold these entities accountable so when they don't give over the requests in a timely manner like they're supposed to prescribed by law, that they get fined, and instead of it coming out of the taxpayers, it comes out of their budgets. If you start taking money away from them where they would be issuing that money for overtime pay and stuff like that, and they start seeing that money go away because they have to keep paying out for their screw ups, that's where the change should start to come into play, at least in my
The problem. The
I got
problem.
an
Brian,
answer. I got an answer to this question.
Mhm.
What should Trump be told? What do you want him to change? We want qualified immunity to go away, whether it's judicial or through the police. We don't
Oh,
want our government to not be accountable at any time.
well, now
That's
hold
what.
on. You can't ask Trump to do that because if he does,
Uh,
the minute they take away his immunity, he gets charged and penalized for 33 felonies.
no, because that would be double jeopardy.
No, they found him guilty. So right now, what he's using is his
Yeah, but
immunity,
you
which
can't make that retroactive. Getting rid of
if he
qualified
takes
immunity.
away his immunity, he goes to jail. That's right. Yes, fact. Because what he's arguing on that case, which has been prolonged due to the argument, is he just got SCOTUS to up his immunity to cover what he's facing right now. So he is absolutely supporting immunity. You're not going to get Trump to remove immunity. And if you think Harris is a better option, well, you got a problem there too, because you're talking about a lifelong prosecutor who has been covered by immunity in several lawsuit cases. Both of them
Oh
are
yeah,
supporters of immunity.
she puts
Our next
guilty
4
people in
years.
prison and enjoys it.
Well, yeah, and then she actually has the landmark case
I agree,
against
Culture
her.
Club. I think for public
Yeah,
safety, he's wrong in his assessment there too.
on what? Trump?
Well, yeah, it has no bearing on Trump. If he ended qualified immunity, it would not. I mean, I don't believe that they could retroactively put him in prison.
Not unqualified because he's got presidential. No. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
he's a supporter of immunity, and if he removes immunity, you're asking to remove the lowest level immunity there is. Qualified.
No,
Qualified shit.
I want judicial immunity gone as well.
Okay, so then what? What's next? You know what I'm saying? So you're asking him to remove the lowest level. Well, he's not going to, because if he starts removing immunity,
what's constitutional? The presidency has always had immunity while they're in the presidency. So, but nobody else is supposed to, according to
not
the
criminal,
Constitution.
not criminal, no.
Not criminal, but there's a different process to charge a president with a crime. It's called impeachment, and then the Senate votes whether or not they're guilty. So it's just a different process. But with judicial and judges, they never had immunity before. When did that happen?
Yeah, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. Why would a man who is using the term
No, I understand.
immunity to keep himself out of prison right now as we speak, why would he start taking immunity away from anybody in the government? That'd be the last thing
it'd be a conflict of his own interest. Absolutely. No, I understand that.
Yeah. And the matter of fact, his campaigning right now, he's saying, when I get presidency, I am going to not only have we're going to let go of qualified immunity because I'm giving them federal immunity. That's what Trump is saying right now for his platform. He is giving police officers federal immunity.
He wants to. He's not giving it to him right now because he's not president.
He's not president. But when he
that's what
becomes
wants
president, he can.
Yeah. Well,
And that's
I
what he
don't
said
think
he's
he
gonna do.
can by executive order. I honestly don't think he can do that by executive order. I think it's going to have to go through Congress. Go
All
ahead,
right,
Nikki.
so
This
Chris
is
Milk, the Constitution of the United States is supposed to be the laws of how the government should work. Why is it not working? Because
We're not
we
using it.
have exactly. We're not using it. We have too many people who are sitting in their house. Cliff, you've already heard this.
Yep.
Sitting in their house going, it does not affect me, so why should I care?
Mm-hmm.
We need our boots on the ground, like Wanda Mice is saying. We need a lot more supporters out there for our boots on the ground, for our videographers.
As a
A lot
boots
more
on the ground
education.
person, I'd like to say that that's why I try to teach Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's why I target Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, because there's no 11th Amendment immunities for it. It's a battle I can't lose. There's no
You know what
11th Amendment immunities for non-compliance with Title II of the ADA. The name and contact information of the ADA coordinator must be given upon request. So you make that phone call, hey, I need to speak to your ADA coordinator. Or who or what, huh? Boom. There you go.
Yeah, and what I love about what you do, South Carolina, is that you focus on something to the level in which you can become exponentially knowledgeable about. So when you do take action, you know what you're doing on that little bitty realm of law, and it is very effective what you do. But I think in the big picture, we need people like you to study all different forms and ways and implement them with the same type of knowledge that you've collected on ADA. You know,
Yep.
it needs to be a way bigger picture.
I agree.
And let me tell you something, you know, you step outside of this platform for 5 minutes, step outside of the First Amendment platform for 5 minutes, and you look at normal, common, everyday, average Americans. Go to Facebook, for God's sakes, and look at the ignorance to the Constitution and law. Go to a presidential candidate rally and look at the ignorance to the Constitution and law. Go to the courtroom on a traffic ticket day and look at the ignorance to the Constitution and law, and then go, oh my God, how much more work are we going to have to do to start getting to these people? Well, they're not
Go to a
watching.
university campus and ask him, you know, what the 5 elements of the First Amendment are.
Yeah, that's how far behind we are, guys.
Yeah.
That's how far behind we are.
Education
You
is
know.
going to
Yeah,
be
it's
key to
sad.
change. Education. Awareness.
Yeah, by the way, Chris, on a personal note, I love you guys, man, what y'all do. I'd love for y'all to look at the information I've sent you. I think it's pretty straightforward. I sent it to Cliff the other day. Hope that he looked at it, but it's pretty straightforward what I do, and I'm getting all the information from the federal government, the Department of Justice website to begin with. So it's all there, it's all available, and all you have to do is print Chapter 2, both parts of Chapter 2, and walk in and go do an audit. It's that easy. It's got a check sheet.
I mean, we not only support what you're doing, but we also watch your videos and stuff and what you've been doing. You know, you even did some stuff in Meade County, and it couldn't be more appreciated. I think you're doing a really fantastic job, and you've got our support 100%. I mean, as far as asking Tiffany and I to audit, well, we don't. We're way too busy to, you know, to branch and go out there and start anything new. But it's because the reason we don't have time for that is because we are way too busy already doing our part. You know, unfortunately for us, like I'm gonna, you know, I've been honest this whole time about it. I think everyone already knows this, but I'll reiterate it forever and ever because it's true. Me and Tiffany were that couple who were sitting in our house completely oblivious to constitutional activism, and we thought we were safe from all of it, and they came in our door, and that's how we started. You know,
Through
so
a
you're not safe.
no knock raid, right?
Yeah, if you think you're safe sitting in your house, separating yourself from it outside, you're wrong. They'll come in your door.
Yep.
And then
It
you
will
have
dispel
to fight.
eventually.
You have to push forward and learn. You have to learn the Constitution. You have to learn your rights. You have to learn the records process. You know, it's going to get everybody eventually. I'm not saying SWAT teams are going to bust everybody's door in with fake warrants. But what I am saying is it will affect your family at some point if you just sit there and act like it's not your business. It'll get you.
Yep. And then there won't be anybody to back your play. I think it was Brandon that said that earlier. There won't be anybody left.
Right. You know, that's one thing I love about the audits that I do, though. Once I'm done with you, it benefits the disabled people in the community.
Yes, it does.
Yep. And I think we talked about this when we had you as a guest too, Phoenix, that, you know, our auditors could use that as leverage in what they're trying to achieve. If they're not ADA compliant, you can put pressure on them in that way. It's another tool in your toolkit to use against them if they're coming after you. You know what I mean? So.
Exactly. And that's another reason why I'm nonprofit. I am not monetized. My YouTube channel is not monetized at all because we have a state law that if I get FOIA request, I can't use it for commercial purposes. So if I post anything that's FOIA related or say anything that's FOIA related, you know, then I've violated that law. So that's why I'm not monetized.
Well, I have to say this. I mean, we've seen blind justice for the last, 4 years?
Yep.
Trying to get his fair shake in the court system, needing the ADA, and the federal government has just turned their back on him.
Yeah,
and
turned a
that's where,
blind eye, so to speak.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that,
Horrible.
and to me, that's, I don't think it gets any worse.
It doesn't.
Well, I specifically target law enforcement first, and then I go after cities and all that. So, but that's what I like to do is target law enforcement because they're the ones that we're going to call to protect us. And if they don't know the laws in place that are there to protect us, we're not going to get the protection we're supposed to have. So
Oh, you're
that's
not
why
going
I
to get
do
it
what I do.
anyway. You're not going to get it anyway.
Just for full disclosure, when he used the word target, he was not saying anything nefarious. He's saying he targets that issue within that entity to address.
In a legal way. In a legal way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as you all know, I've got people from the government all over the internet following me around looking for excuses.
Yeah, we're all being watched, you know, so we have to be sure and,
Man, I thought
say the right
you
thing.
were talking about the shopping center. I was getting excited.
Oh, Target, yeah.
Yeah, the place with the big red balls out front.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and maybe since we're talking about balls, maybe the normal everyday American person ought to grow a set of balls and actually start questioning their government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. And, you know, in the fact that that's not being done by every American already, it's a sad state of affairs that our nation is in due to that issue.
Yeah.
Trusting your employees without oversight? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, in what world does that work? You have to oversight. You have to.
Yeah. We have to watch.
You know,
we have to be vigilant.
And the only way you're going to get a team that does act within your best interest, and I'm saying, can think about them being the employees, which they are. The only way you're going to get a team working for you that is doing it in the best interest of the company is if they have had much oversight. Yeah, you can relax once you can trust them, but, you know, hell, most term limits don't leave it long enough for you to trust anyway. So we got to keep constant oversight, and that is not happening in America.
Chris, maybe you can help me out. I was in Henry's thing today, and I had to bounce out of the stream before I got to listen to the rest of it. How is it that the prosecutor is actually trying to set a date that he has to appear?
Yeah, I was interested in understanding that as well, John.
I've never
He-
heard of that.
I don't know. I didn't get my answer. I don't think Craig knows which court he's in. If it's, if he was brought to, if it's a civil situation,
Well,
I don't
from
know.
what-
I think he's been called back to the criminal court in the case that he's in
yeah,
to
but
answer
go ahead.
to an allegation of contempt of the judge's order. So
Okay.
yeah, he's probably just going to have to go through that. But I'm pretty sure I heard him say that someone else recorded it and gave him a copy, and then he published it. I'm
Right.
pretty sure that if that's the case, then it's not a violation on his part,
Well,
because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
the contempt that I would think might apply would be recording in the courtroom without the judge's permission in the state of Indiana. So if he wasn't the one that recorded it in the first place, I don't think there's anything they could do to him if they wanted to.
Right.
But I don't know how the prosecutor is setting the dates. It doesn't make sense. It seems like the prosecutor is acting in a bit of a conflict in that case.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if it was more of a motion for the prosecutor, and the prosecutor was filing a motion to the court to bring him back into the contempt.
Yeah, I think because Craig's acting as his own attorney. He's pro se in that matter. So his communications with the opposition party is in effect in his case, and that can get really confusing when typically it would be between your lawyer and them. So since he's bypassed that, he's getting all the correspondence back and forth. Like, he's in the place right now where he's the one communicating with the opposite attorney, prosecutor in this case.
Right.
So he's got to be able to differentiate, when am I communicating as a pro se litigant with the attorney, and when am I doing it in the courtroom? It's different. When is this a court matter, and when is this just us, working out the court rule?
I want everybody to read Dale Elliott's comment, and just give your opinion on what he's saying here.
I can't read it because I'm on my
I'll go first.
phone.
I'll go first. I'll read it out loud and I'll go first.
Okay.
The only way to get more people to participate is to give them an assurance that they can win against any charges. Now, here's the thing. We can't. That's a fact. What we can say is chances are they're going to lose on all of their charges and get put away. That's what's happening to our auditors all over the country. I got some really bad news today that I can't share yet. So, I mean, we can't lie to people and say, if you become an auditor, all is going to be well. You're going to win every charge that you get that comes against you, because it's just not true.
I'll go next. First and foremost, if the only way that they're responsible for themselves. The only way that you can take the first step towards protecting yourself against any criminal charges is if you commit no crime whatsoever. You need to know the laws, especially if you're going to audit. If you're going to audit, you better know the ones you're testing first and foremost, and then make sure you don't break any of the little ones. Because, I mean, if y'all only really fully understood how many stupid laws are on the books, they never go away. There's still laws about horses.
Don't step on that red line.
So, you can easily break a law that they bump into in the book.
Get back from the red line.
Yeah. Get back behind the red line and follow orders.
Yeah, the red line. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So the thing is that, first and foremost, make sure you don't break any laws. Secondly, there is
Which
no
is really hard to do.
after that, because when you get charged maliciously, like I have, you're still at the mercy of the process in the system. Maybe a judge having a bad day, I just got indicted for quote unquote publishing on a monetized YouTube channel, which the rest of the world seems to know that that's not illegal. But for some reason, this particular jury pool thought that it was illegal to publish on a monetized YouTube channel. So I got indicted on that by Americans. So, you know, there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
And what's worse is there's no guarantee that you'll walk away from it either. That's the worst part about it.
Mhm.
Yep. They corruption knows no bounds.
You
Yeah.
know, I think this community needs to put it, you know, to start checking ourselves too. Because yes, we see that there are people out there who are clickbaiting by using auditing, which, you know, we can easily blow that off and say, so fucking what? Don't watch them. We can say that, right? But if you truly are concerned with the community, you need to address that as a community and say, hold on now, you know, we're not here to fucking piss everybody off. We're here to make accomplishments. So I don't know, you know, personally, I'm not to that extent of being involved in the community. So I'm not going to start, you know, hammering down on people who intentionally do clickbait. Like, it's just not in my interest. You know, I'm sorry, but I'm not that far
Right.
in.
No, and I understand that. Here's what I think, though. I think every auditor out there flexes their rights in their own way, and we can't, you know, can't limit the way they fight their fight. I mean,
No.
that wouldn't be right either.
Right. But what I'm talking about is there are some that some of us up on this panel might not even know exist. Okay. We might not never even seen the channel that do it, you know, but there are some out there that push past the boundaries on purpose, you know, and meaning they break laws, you know, and they're pressing issues that there aren't even many agencies out there with employees that even understand the issues they're pressing. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm trying to get at is baby steps matter, you know?
Yeah. Stay away from the red line.
The red line was actually an easy one to challenge because I had already gone to the responsible agency, which was the mayor's office, and written a complaint on the mayor for him to address that that particular Jeffersonville City Police Department was trying to make areas limited that were not approved by the council. So I'd already had the documentation to prove that they couldn't continue to keep limiting areas. And we were arguing that through attorneys already. So when they painted the red line out there and they said, now we're making another limited area, I went, the fuck you are. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing in the law about it, you know? So that one was actually a pretty decent test. And they couldn't do anything, which is why I didn't get arrested.
Well, and I contend too that, you know, you get auditors out there that are just doing clickbait, and if they commit a crime on camera, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but I remember somebody stealing an orange, and I don't think a lot of people even remember their name. They're gone. You know,
yeah,
they don't last.
Talking about.
They
He
don't
didn't
last.
steal an orange to test the government. It was just
no, they just stole an orange to steal an orange.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
What's the helmet law there? Do you have to wear one or not?
Not in Indiana.
Okay, same in South Carolina. It's optional if you're over 21. Okay.
Yeah.
So I ride an electric bike and I wear a Guy Fawkes airsoft helmet, and with a bright green construction type rescue style helmet that's for like construction and helmet rescue work for real, with the Bluetooth communication built into the headset. And I ride with that. And this Columbia police officer says, take that mask off. I said, it's the helmet. No, it's a mask. No, it's a helmet. And, you know, and she's like, it's a mask. I'm like, face protection. It's a mask, face protection. So the city of Columbia ADA coordinator sent me a letter. The new ADA coordinator now, the newly appointed one, compliments yours truly, just sent me a letter and told me that they reserve the right to enforce 16.7.110 against me, which is the face mask law. But I'm like, wait a minute. I'm using this for my protection, and 16.7.130 says that if I'm using it for my protection, I'm exempt from 16.7.110. So now I've got an attorney, and we're fixing to sue them over the fact that I wear the anonymous mask, Guy Fawkes mask, when I ride my e-bike in the city limits of Columbia.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's a good
Nikki,
point.
Nikki, can you put the names of our guests on the panel?
I don't know. I don't know if you
The
saw.
only what we
What hap-
can do is
What happened? What happened to
you
them?
take when you take the question down, the names will pop up. When the
Oh,
question is up there,
okay.
it takes the names down.
Okay, because I did want to
See?
hear from John Denicola
Yeah, I
on
don't.
what he thinks about the Dale Elliott comment here.
Well, there's no way, and I'm going to go with Chris on this. There's absolutely no way that you're going to assure anybody that they're going to win any case at any point. I
Yep.
mean, there's no way. First of all, not to throw you under the bus, Chris, but in Chris's case, he's got the issues down in Kentucky. You get into an area there where your jury of peers isn't your jury of your peers. These are people that have probably grown up with most of those people in that area, and they don't like outsiders. And guess what? You're an outsider. And at the end of the day, if you think that you're assured of victory when you're coming up against not only the prosecutor, the judge, and to be honest with you, if you don't have an attorney that's willing to back you and stand in your corner, more than likely, if you got a public defender, he's going to be working with the other guys anyway. So the chances of you walking away with a victory is slim to none.
Well, what's a
Well,
victory?
yeah,
What's a
the
victory in criminal case? The victory just means you didn't get charged with the law you didn't break. That's a
Exactly.
victory at the end of a criminal case.
Right. And that's it. That not guilty verdict is the victory, and that's about
Right.
it.
Yep. So you went through all that, and people think, "Oh, I'm going to sue for that." Well, that part's not suable.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
And
and Nikki, what was your opinion on Dale Elliott's comment here?
Dale, okay, and I do have to agree with everybody. You cannot give anybody an assurance that they can win against any charge, period. Okay. But
Title II audit.
I have to let you know there is a way to get more people to participate by sharing all of the stories out. I mean, we've got families that may come over and we can go, "Hey, have you seen this? Here, look at this. Do you think this is wrong? Here's where I stand on it." Just like the old saying, any publicity is good publicity. If somebody likes you and they go and tell 10 people, and those 10 people tell 10 more people, et cetera, et cetera. That's the only way we're going to get more people to participate, is to have it shared out, have it put out to more people, let more people see the actions that are being taken that are wrong. I mean,
Absolutely.
right now we're seeing what people are seeing is our First Amendment auditors out there doing what needs to be done, but they're doing it without support. And
They're
then
paying a
when
heavy price.
they do get hemmed up, it's like they disappear and nobody seems to keep the story going. Oh, well, that's one more auditor that's, not out here causing
Another one
problems.
bites the dust. Yeah.
Well, hold on.
And
I
we're
have
not
to
picking
correct
on you
you.
either, Elliot.
Everybody watches when you get hemmed up. That part, they watch
Oh,
you get
yeah.
hemmed up.
Oh, yeah, because it's
But
exciting. It's fun
But
to
then
watch.
right after the hemmed up part happens and the person bails out and they're trying to, get that support, that's where the support dwindles.
Yep. Yep. Well, and you're a prime example of that because you start getting people talking bad about you, and it's just
Well,
the government
the
tries
government
all these tricks,
propaganda.
and they use all of these people to come out against you. They're and we've discussed
Let me put
this.
it this way: the government's ploy for propaganda works on
Yes, it does.
people. So as soon as they started trying to say, I mean, look, you see it every day on social media all the time. What do most people, a lot of people do this. When they don't like you, when you're right about something in an argument, they go, "You're a liar." That's what they say. Nothing might have been a lie at all. However, they will end the argument by calling you a liar. Well, that's what the government does, and that's what they implore other people to do in their propaganda against the people that they fuck up against. So what they did to
Absolutely.
me was that, and then they built up on that. They said, "You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar." They had 100 people say you're a liar at the same time, and then people that had no idea go, "Oh, that must be that liar." You know, really? Like, where's the lie?
Hey,
Well,
Chris.
that's that
Yes,
character
sir.
assassination that they use to try and bury you under it.
Yeah, exactly. And then they add more charges, you know, to try to make you look even worse. And then they make false allegations on top of it. And I don't think most people have dealt with what I'm dealing with, you know, because there really aren't very many government officials out there as stupid as the one I'm dealing with. But they exist. Look, I got one.
Yep. And so this is why, Dale, I believe that we are losing more auditors all the time, and I don't think we're gaining a lot of new ones. I think I think we're losing overall. And so I think you posed this to try to get a conversation started, and I think it worked. So we're not picking on you at all. This was a good statement for you to make. Um, but the reality of it is there's no way because the government has unlimited resources. They just have unlimited resources.
Well, as long as you have resources, they do too, which is the problem. So
They have
you know,
more. Yeah.
no, they have yours. So like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
you have to
Unlimited.
run out before they do because you're only one.
Yep.
You know, you're going to run out before they do. That's for damn
Yep.
sure. They're taking yours
Absolutely.
to begin with. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why
Well,
they're
Chris,
winning.
Chris, maybe you'll agree with this because you and I kind of at one point or another we've started doing things on our own, right?
Mhm.
And what happens is you turn around and you go up against an entity, and not only are you going against that entity, but then you end up having to go deal with the attorney general. So now you have the backing of the attorney general. They have their paralegals. They got like
Yep.
600 different people in that office that are working for them, and you have just you. And
Yeah.
again, it's like you're beating your head against the wall.
Yep.
Well, and that's
And
one of the
it's
reasons why.
not it Dale. It's not that we're saying that it's a unanimous decision to fail. We're saying that this is probably a fight in futility, and we've got to think of different ways and something else that we can, some other type of ammunition that we can use, so something in the tool belt. We need some genius to come along and say, let us know how we can win. You know, that's why we're
Thank
putting
you. I
it out.
appreciate it. No.
Cliff, one of the things that me and Cliff bump heads a lot when behind the scenes on stuff because
Mhm.
I think we work well together and bumping things off each other. One thing about Cliff, dear audience, is he's very impatient and from the best place of his heart is very, very impatient.
I am.
You're talking about this community. Well, Cliff is completely invested in this community. His life he has devoted himself to the 1A community, which is beautiful. Thank you, Cliff. However, because of that perspective, Cliff sees this community for the totality in which it's grown. And in that, Cliff, you forget that the total footprint of this community is so minute, it's microscopic on the level of the United States and its government. This movement, if you will, it's so teeny tiny and new. it needs to grow.
Yeah, it does. But they're trying to stunt that growth. And why are they putting so many dollars and so much activity into trying to stunt our growth? What is
The
going on?
reason,
What's the real
the
nefarious thing that's happening with our government?
All of
the
it, Cliff.
reason for that, Cliff, is, and once again, Chris, I do have to agree with you. Cliff and I have bumped heads on the same issues. The reason why the government is so against the 1A auditors or this community, the activists, the investigative journalists, whatever you want to call them,
Is it because they're
is
scared?
because they're scared that the normal everyday American is going to finally open their eyes and realize what the government has been doing to them
Mhm.
instead of working for them.
Right. And it's not one big case. It's not one big conspiracy. It's not the US government against the US citizens. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of cases across the nation in every little town where this guy's abusing these things. These people are abusing this thing. That girl is abusing this stuff. This woman is elected and taking advantage of these things. These people are getting pocketed extra money out of the back door of passing through a council a contractor who happens to be a family member. You know what I'm saying? It's happening all over. And here's what the problem with 1A community is for all of them. This is what they all share. The 1A community are the ones who are not, okay, they're used to dealing with the mainstream. In every little town, there's only a handful of mainstreamer journalists, okay?
Yep.
And not
Yep.
even all of them are anybody they got to worry about. Only some of them. So they know the names, they know the faces, they have the relationships with them, they can block them. Now, what happens when there's 10,000 of them in every district that are carrying cameras and asking tough questions and looking into records, and they don't know their names, they don't know their faces, they don't know who they are, they don't know what they're capable of publishing. You know what I'm saying? That's the fear.
It's the what if.
It's the transparency that they're scared of because government is abusing all over in hundreds of thousands of cases across the nation in different ways.
Government corrupts, and,
Well,
and
I'll
it's
give you
absolute, and it's absolute corruption.
I'll give you a small example of what he's referring to too, because I actually have been working with a couple of guys in Colorado, in a town called Aguilar, Colorado, and recently they just got served a $700,000 lawsuit by a contractor who built an augmentation pond. Turns out that the federal government awarded over $6 million to the town for that pond. The contractor built it for $3.18 million, and the woman who was the clerk for the town and the town administrator, she was the one writing the checks, but the money's gone. The town is now in ruin. They're being sued by the contractor. They're being sued by other contractors that help work on the same pond. I mean, and that's just a small town of less than 500. You know, and that's a small
It's
scale.
everywhere. It's
And that's
everywhere.
Everywhere.
And look, for those auditors who are out there going, well, fuck you telling me I can't do clickbait. Well, guess what? You don't have to push anything. If you want to find government conspiracies, if you want to find abuse of government powers, if you want to find, all you got to do
It's
is
easy.
look into each one. I guarantee you, before the third person you look into, you will find it.
Yep. It's the nature of man. People become corrupt. It's all about money, power, control. Everybody wants
100
it.
government employees, 90 of them are abusing it somehow, which way or another.
Yep, I agree. But
Okay.
how do you
And
fight them? How do you get them? How do you expose them to where they get in trouble instead of you for exposing them? That's the
Again,
point.
you're jumping too fast to
I
say
I
get them in
know,
trouble. How
but
about
I'm
just exposing
but
them
I'm
first?
seeing it. I'm seeing it everywhere
Yeah,
with our
you got to
auditors.
expose them
They're,
first. Trouble.
yeah,
I mean, me and Tiffany are the perfect example of showing the world the entire process of getting one in trouble. Right, Jamie? No.
yeah,
It you couldn't have expected us to get him in trouble from one audit. No fucking way. It
yeah.
took way more than one exposure, two exposures, three exposures, four exposures, record after record after record. It took hundreds of people joining us in the
Yeah.
endeavor and doing their parts as well. And not to mention, there were already people in practice on that person already when we started. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it takes to get one in trouble, Cliff.
Right. And but that's not getting rid of the overall corruption because he's just the fall guy for all of them.
Well, at the end of the day, yeah, there's a way bigger picture that,
Yep.
that's still not being addressed.
Yep.
I mean, they just found out that, like that as an example, they found out not too awful long ago in the investigation that a lot of the money that was stolen from the taxpayers of the town of Utica was put into the presidential election campaigns through that WinRed program, and none of the people that received it are giving it back. That's stolen money.
Yeah.
right.
Now, do you
Now,
see those people? Do you see Governor Holcomb getting arrested? Do you see, Mike Pence getting arrested? No, they're not getting arrested. They stole money.
Yeah.
They're in possession and using stolen money right now, but are they getting arrested? No.
If you don't comply with Title II, you don't meet Section 504 standards, and you can't receive USDOJ funds or Bureau of Justice funds either, prisons
So
and jails included.
explain to the audience
but yet
in detail what all that means.
they still
Because
receive the money though.
Mhm.
The well, that's the thing.
Put it in
You,
layman's terms. Yeah.
it's pretty much you can take them into a state court of competent jurisdiction because there's no 11th Amendment immunities, and Title II of the ADA grants a state court of competent jurisdiction the authority to listen to a Title II
Okay,
case.
Phoenix. Most
Yes.
people don't even know what the 11th Amendment is.
Right.
So it's.
Yeah.
I mean, you're stating all of these things and all of these laws that people don't even know what they are. So
Right.
in layman's terms, what are you saying?
Well, I mean, I force compliance is what I do. And as you see, I usually win. And the two that I did not get, well, they're under investigation by the United States Department of Justice right now. That'd be Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center and the Charleston County Sheriff's Department and Charleston County Jail, which is run by the sheriff. So
Cliff,
they're
what
now
he's
being
saying,
investigated by the DOJ for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is Title II that state government and local government entities must comply with in order to receive any federal funds, period. If you
Perfect.
don't
And yet
comply with that,
receiving
you're committing
federal
fraud.
funds without complying. Exactly. Perfect. That was well
let me,
said.
Let me reiterate this with some of my understanding. What he's saying is he has accomplished some baby steps.
Yep.
And what you're hearing is all of the knowledge that he had to obtain in order to affect a baby step.
Yep. We need a lot more people that are figuring these things out and running it and having success. And we need more and more success stories.
Oh, and by the way,
we're not getting
the
that.
Jamie
from the
Knoll case
majority.
on the big picture, also a baby step.
Absolutely. These are all little tiny baby steps.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just impatient. I want the bigger steps.
Right. Now,
And I want them
see,
now.
Wanda, you can't have them. Wanda has been in the chat, and he's wanting to know, is there anybody or any database of like the auditors where, some have the 3,500 supporters, some have 500,000. But really, out of those supporters, subscribers, how many people have actually viewed? And then what is the growth rate of our videographers? Are we actually at a stagnant point where now we're going to say, okay, we've got, I don't know, 15 big channels. We've got all these little channels. How many more people are coming in to do this? What is the, how can we get those big channels that have the 500,000 supporters to go and actually support the little channels? And like he says, he'll do the sentence if there's 1 million supporters who can speak on his behalf.
Well, there's no guarantee
It's a
for that either.
question, right? It's a question of how long is it going to take to have the numbers of supporters to make a difference. And then, then like Steve Cousins says, what do we do about the auditors that are out there doing it for fun, giving us a bad name, whether it be actual auditors or it be like the fraud channels, that what are frauded or troll, whatever they are.
Both contribute to the cause of a bad name. And listen, there aren't targeted singular people behind channels that are necessarily causing destruction in totality against the movement. Okay, like very, very few of those. Each one of us has our faults. Every person that does it has their faults. So collectively, you're going to get complaints about the movement in general. Not to mention, you've got these anti-auditor channels out there who don't understand the law at all. Most of them aren't even freaking in America, which is fine. But why do they fight it when it doesn't even affect them, right? And a lot like Fraud or Troll. I mean, that fucker don't even live in America. He benefits zero except for himself. You're going to get backlash from the common, ordinary people that are not involved. I don't know. There's a lot to go against us, but look, let's not turn this into a discouraging panel, because I think at the end of the day, something was said a little while ago that's not true. We are not making a difference. Bullshit. Because I can show you thousands of minute cases in which people who set out as an activist to show something, uncover something, expose something, change something, have made those baby step changes. I think this whole panel is full of people who have done it multiple times. So
I have.
Yeah, and there you go. So we are making a difference. It's just some people, even promoters like Cliff, are very impatient and they want to make huge changes now. But
I do.
It's not the way it works. It works
Cliff,
slowly.
I
It works
emailed
in
you the
baby
tools
steps.
to do it.
Well,
I
Those
just
are
want to
just
bring the
some
community
tools.
together and start working together, but it's really hard to do with different personalities and different reasons that they're in the auditing community. I mean, a lot of auditors basically get thrown into the situation, and they've got nothing left to lose.
You mean like
and they just
SWAT teams kicking in your door to get you started? Yeah.
exactly. And you're not the only one, Chris. I mean, there's hundreds of auditors out there that have been wronged in some way, and that's the reason why they're doing what they're doing. And they all have their own style and way of doing things. And yes, in their small communities, they are probably making some good changes baby steps, like you're saying. But I want the whole auditing world to come together and do big things together.
Well, first of all,
and I'm impatient for that. I'm impatient for it.
eventually you're going to have to drop the terminology to make it a singular group, because ultimately, for the success that you're reaching for, there is no group except for Americans. You know, if you think that it's going to be totally successful like you want, then it has to be every American has to say, hey, I have constitutional fucking rights and I'm going to get them.
And it's not being taught in schools, and it's not being taught. So, I mean, 90% of Americans out there think that all of their rights are being upheld, and it's just not true.
Right. Yeah,
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Could you go after the state court system for making your complete name and date of birth public information? Because I complained to my state court about it, and guess what they did? They removed the complete date of birth, and now they only show your age.
Mine didn't. First of all, mine didn't do anything like that to me. My state, Kentucky, had an official that did it, and he did it against their statute already, felony statute. So
no, I looked you up in the booking report, and they had your name and complete date of birth publicly available, and I took a screenshot of it, and I'm like,
I'm okay
what the
with
hell
my
is
name and
this?
date of birth.
Now I've got all the information I need to impersonate him, because I know he's locked up, you know, and I challenged South Carolina state court system over it, and they changed their system. Now they do not post the complete date of birth. They give the age of the person, not the date of birth.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that necessarily, like, I disagree that you could completely impersonate me without more information than that. But, you know, I mean, that's something that could be challenged on a state level. I mean, I'm more concerned with
I would never try to do that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yeah, it could be done possibly, like an argument could be brought for it, but I've just got bigger fish to fry, bro. Like, they literally, my social security number, date of birth, full name, address, every address I've ever lived at, all the private information was released recently. So I'm dealing with that already. I'm not going to push that aside and go argue over my date of birth at another place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I threatened them with a class action lawsuit. Guess how many defendants I got? Every single one that's in there.
Well, I need to recognize something right here, guys. Rogue Nation is in the house, and Brother Rogue, it is an open panel, so if you want to come up, you are welcome, brother.
Come on up, Knowledge.
We'd love to have you.
Our knowledge guy.
I just want to touch back on something that you were asking about, Cliff, and you were saying that, how do you know when you're making change? And I have to disagree with you with the fact that you think that we're not making change or a big enough change. And I have to disagree with that, because years ago, you wouldn't see as many people picking up cameras on traffic stops. You wouldn't see people picking up cameras to film people that were being approached by police and being put in handcuffs. Perfect example of that would be the young man that was on the traffic stop where the cop punched him in the face recently. Those are things that you would never have seen being recorded a few years ago. And people are it's starting to click. And that's the change that you're looking for. And when those people and these people all start to come together, that's when you're going to see the bigger change.
You know what's even the bigger thing to notice about that? And I think you're going to love this realization. Even the government's getting on board because of that push, because body cams.
That's right.
We are making a huge change. We forced them to start using body cams.
Yeah, but if you can't get access to the body cams, what good is it?
Yeah, well, that's the next baby step. That's the next
that's
baby
why
step.
you have your own body cam.
Yeah. Well, you can wear one, right? I do.
And not only that, and I'm sure somebody out there is going to disagree. We are seeing more of the mainstream media picking up these stories that
Yep.
people in the community are exposing. Granted, the mainstream media is coming in at the end after all the hard work has been done, but they are picking it up. They're
They're also
it
putting
is
their own
small
slant
steps.
on things and their own bias, like what they did to
Yeah, but hold on,
Carolina.
Cliff. You're about to attack them all when it's not all of them. Listen, on
Yeah.
Facebook today, I actually said about a mainstream journalist in my area who I've worked extensively with and become friends with because he is so much, his heart is there. I said, and I know this was fictional, but I said, I nominate Mark for the Pulitzer Award this year because of his hard work and dedication. Even though people tipped him, this dude went way past the expectations of a mainstream journalist and has busted his ass covering the corruption case in Indiana.
Well, I
So
contend he also had a platform that allowed him to do that,
yeah, I'm not going to take it away from him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say
or his
he can't be
bosses
lumped.
that allowed him to publish what he wanted to publish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but needless to say, the point is that you're not going to. I can't sit here and let anyone lump every mainstream journalist into this one notion
No,
that they don't do their
Yeah.
part because they
no,
do.
and I'm not attacking every mainstream journalist. I'm attacking mainstream in general. The powers
Yeah,
of
as
the
a whole, it's
mainstream.
got a lot of
Yeah,
problems. As an
yeah,
entirety, it has a lot of issues, and
Yep.
mainly because the government has given them the same kickback that you're seeing each independent auditor deal with. They've been receiving that same shit, but without having any uh, distractions from other people. Imagine this: all of the power that they give 500 journalists, but there ain't 500. There's only one. Now think of how much they can kick back. That's what they've been doing to mainstream journalists for as long as it's been around.
And nothing but nothing too, Cliff. They may turn around and try and put their spin on it, but the thing is when you have an actual video that contradicts that spin, they can't spin it the way they want. Because when the actual video comes out and it's full length, not the desired pieces that they're handed, right? Who looks like the fool? They do. And that just goes to show their bias towards the police departments or whoever. And that's, I think, a big portion of it too.
Well, and then
agree.
you got the lawyers. Okay, the lawyers are going to give them advice to ensure that the corporation's reputation gets protected, that their finances get protected, that they're protected from the retaliation that they will receive. So obviously any good lawyer is going to say, well, the best thing is don't even fuck with it. But at the same time, they're going to say, well, we know your job is to fuck with it, so we're going to do our best, to try to stay as far as not fucking with it as we can. That's part of it. It falls back to the government. How do they react to people looking for transparency? Well, the answer is negatively.
Yeah,
And the reason is because they got nefarious shit going on all over the place, hundreds of thousands of cases across the nation at all times.
right. And then, okay, mainstream media, yes, we all say it's corrupt or whatever. The corporations are doing this to keep their license, blah, blah, blah. But if it weren't for our community, for those Americans who are actually standing up and saying this is wrong, we wouldn't have mainstream media covering the girl in Texas who was shoved into the fire ants. We wouldn't have mainstream media covering the fact that a cop in Illinois executed a woman in her own kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
These are stories that are not just being kept local and being kept shut up. They're getting out there. So we are doing the baby steps. We are bringing the exposure. We just have to keep going.
Yep. And realize that we're making progress. You know, don't get discouraged.
So I think what you're saying then is BCNN, the Real News Network. I mean, it's true. Our auditors are the real news, and sometimes the mainstream media will pick it up. And I think you guys are right. You're making some good points there. And
I've been on 4 channels in the 3 years that I've been on 4 mainstream channels since in just the 3 short years that I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
other thing
and
is
I
don't
think
look at instant gratification because it's not going to happen.
so. Welcome to the panel, Rogue Nation. Have you got something to add to this conversation that we're having? Are we winning or losing in this fight?
Well, you know, I think we're winning, but you know, the problem is that it's such a huge task that it doesn't look like it, or it doesn't resemble a win that people could see. You know, it's sort of like, you know, when you have a kid, you see them every day. You don't notice the growth changes that somebody would who doesn't see them for, let's say, 6 months, right? Right. So, you know, these little changes, you know, they're there, but because they're like blending in, it's hard to see. Now, again, if you were to watch my videos in Florida, you know, 4 or 5 years ago and see how badly I was treated compared to now, it's almost night and day. And, you know, of course, there's a lot of great activists down there that have helped contributed, you know, to that. And, you know, there's little changes that we've done that we you know, each can say, you know, I had a part in that. I helped get the South Carolina Department of Health on track with allowing people to come in and film, you know, stuff like that. But I think, and I always say this, and I believe it to be true, I think the biggest change, and the change that we want to make the most, is education, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what's been sorely missing, has been education. And not just, I'm not talking like 1+1. I'm talking about how the government has been mistreating citizens, and how they, you know, purposely left out what, you know, our rights are when teaching us, so that way we couldn't, you know, I don't want to say retaliate, but redress our grievances, that kind of thing. And you know, until more people understand that, I mean, it's going to take, you know, it's going to take a while to get a lot of people on board and understand that, because then that's, you know, if we all on the panel and in the chat hold them accountable, I mean, that, you know, that's minute amount, you know, I mean, even Long Island Audit and San Joaquin and all these guys with 500 and 700 and 800,000 subscribers. I mean, 800,000 subscribers is like what, 0.001% of the US?
Right.
I mean, so
and not even all of them are watching everything that goes on.
right. And a lot of times people are watching just for the drama and the excitement of having somebody, you know, tell off the cops. I mean, really, when you get down to it, a lot of viewers, that's their main drive, is living vicariously through an auditor or cop watcher. You know, they'd love to go out there and be like, F you, pig. But they're like, you know what? I'm Christian, and I got a family, and I got a mortgage, and people in my neighborhood can't see me act like that. So I'm just going to watch, you know, Press Harder, you know, because he really gives it to them. So I'm going to watch that,
Yeah,
and I'll get my fix of anti-authoritism that way,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and
So
they're not. I mean, yeah, those guys are. I mean, they're not really serious supporters. They're just looking for the action.
Well,
right.
because you
But
know,
I was the same way when I first started watching these videos, right? But eventually, you start realizing, whoa, there's something wrong here, you know, and that's how I've evolved.
and
I
again,
used to be there really quick.
you're lumping your understanding of the whole subject into this one community. And even what Rogue was saying, when he's talking about education, he's talking about outside the community. The people in the community are accepting the education. He's saying nationally, people need to get educated about their rights.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. And the only way they're going to get educated, though, is to, I don't know, change our public school system to where they're actually.
Oh, that would be a good step. That would be a fantastic.
And I've said that numerous times. We need to change our education system. But,
but it's not just our children that need the education.
Housekeeping item here. I got somebody in the backstage that says he's Cliff Williams too, and there's just a picture there. I don't think we're going to bring you up. We're not going to take a chance on being
Cliff
corn bombed.
Cliff.
I don't know.
Cliff.
What do you see?
Cliff. How about you stop sharing your screen and that will disappear? That's the video that started our whole thing.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to stop that because I think we might want to. Well, actually, no. We're having a great conversation, so yeah, let me stop that.
There you go. It disappeared. See?
Wow. You know, there wasn't somebody saying he was the second Cliff Williams, I guess. See how tech savvy I am? That's why I've got Nikki in the house.
And that right there is an example of education. Okay, it's not only our kids that need education. It is everybody that needs
all of us.
education.
Absolutely.
And I really love the support that we're getting on a global level, because they've been vocal on social media, which is another outlet that helps press the need for the education. And, you know, it's been really nice seeing people from other countries who are pressing Americans to get educated on their own rights.
And since you said that, Nikki, who do we have as a guest on Sunday?
We have Aussie Nation. Or Aussie Nathan, sorry.
Yeah, Aussie Nathan, who's an auditor in Australia.
Who has agreed, thankfully, to come and talk with us and allow us to feature him and ask him questions about the things that he faces where he's at and how different it is. The thing about him is we actually are having to go on an hour ahead of time because he is getting up at 3:30 in the morning, Monday morning, to come and talk with us. So he is making
that's dedication.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing something to help us. We're doing something to understand how this isn't just an American problem, but a worldwide problem.
Yeah.
And some
so normally we're more focused on our country because we love our country better than any other country. But you know, it's nice to see. It'll be good to see a different perspective from a different country too. So,
and some countries are doing way better than America on these issues, and some countries are doing way worse than America on these issues.
I agree.
And what's kind of funny too is some of these countries know our laws probably better than we do. Some of these guys. I had a conversation with a guy from Australia this morning who not only knew the laws, but knew how to look up case law and was avid in looking into it.
Not to say that everyone from a different country is going to understand them, because there's a few of the a-hole attackers that are from other countries getting involved in anti-auditing who claim to know the law, but they misinterpret every single freaking thing that they read.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know who they are.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Rogue Nation. Had I listened to the haters of Rogue Nation 1 year ago, you would not believe that he is free to be on this panel, because according to the haters that, you know, the government promotes, Rogue Nation should have been in prison his whole life, and he shouldn't be available for this channel. So how did you manage staying out of prison forever, Rogue?
It's a well-known secret that I stock honey buns, and CEOs love honey buns.
Let me out. Here's a honey bun.
Phoenix, Wanda Mize is wanting to get a hold of you. Can I send him your email address?
Sure, go right ahead, please.
Okay.
Yep, I think he wants some of those tools in his toolbox.
Yeah, last year when I was going to trial, and everybody fraud patrol and everybody's like, oh, 1 to 5 years, and when I ended up just getting probation, they kind of deflated, but they're still like, well, he's got a felony conviction. Well, I haven't brought it out on my channel yet, and I'm going to here coming up, but we filed for a motion for a new trial, and that was denied. So now we are appealing the verdict to the Georgia Supreme Court. So the paperwork's going forward on that. So within another year, maybe year and a half, I could have case law in Georgia Supreme Court for filming there in the prison grounds. So
good.
And that wouldn't be the first time that wouldn't be the first time that you achieved case law either, right, Road? And just as a reminder, I know what this case is. Can you remind everybody what you were convicted of? I mean, in the simplest terms.
It was the charge was loitering near inmates. It was a felony. It was like about 106-year-old statute that they'd never charged anybody with before. As a matter of fact, the only case I could find with that statute attached was a civil lawsuit that a representative, some county official, brought against the sheriff because the sheriff had threatened her with that statute, but had never actually charged her with it. So I was the first one to get charged with it. After I got charged with it, they hit Lana and GT with it down in Savannah, but they didn't prosecute them. I think they're in the process actually of getting the charges dismissed. It's been like a year or two. But what Georgia likes to do is they'll like string out the case so that way people don't file lawsuits unless they're again, hip on education and know that you could file the lawsuit even before the criminal case is over and just stay the lawsuit until the case is over.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, I'm sure, in Georgia wind up not making that deadline because the state has dragged out the case so long. And I told Lana and GT, I think that's what's going on in their case. So they'll probably be filing pretty soon. So if the state hasn't dismissed those charges, that'll be either, shit or get off the pot moment there for them. But then they recently charged another gentleman, North Georgia Audit, with the same charge. And me and him have been talking about it back and forth. But
trying to use that same playbook. So I hope you win this appeal, Rogue. And I hope you
yeah, we're in a pretty strong position. I don't know if I don't know if Paulding County still has their stuff online, but you used to be able to just go online and download the paperwork and stuff from the case, just using my name, George Douglas Metz, Paulding County, Georgia, criminal case, and you could look it up, and usually the paperwork's there. And if it is still there and you can still retrieve it, you can read our motion to squash the felony, and the reasoning behind the unconstitutional statute is the fact that it doesn't clearly define criminal offenses, right? Like the beginning of the statute says if someone is loafing, lingering, or standing around. Now, the Supreme Court have already decided that loaf and linger are both vague, right, for a criminal statute, right? It's a vague word. It doesn't really give clarity to the citizens on what kind of activity he's doing that's unlawful. But then it goes on further in the statute that says, whoever loaf, lingers, or stand around in a place where inmates are kept or employed after being told to desist by the warden or his representative shall be guilty of a felony. Well, the only problem with the rest of that statute is it doesn't clearly say what desist means. Obviously, you would think desist means to stop loafing, lingering, or hanging about. But I mean, does that mean I have to walk 10 feet away? Does that mean I have to leave the property like a trespassing statute? Does it, you know what I mean? There's no definitive way to comply with that statute, meaning the cops could always say, well, you didn't desist from whatever because there's no clear guideline on how to desist.
Right.
So it's a,
So
you know, it's a,
basically,
Yeah,
if
so I
you,
don't want you to put out too much information as to what your strategy is going
if
to
you
be.
walk back and forth, then
Yeah.
then technically walking back and forth, you would be legally within the confines of that statute, wouldn't you?
Well, you'd have to say you would have to have a clear description of what loafing or lingering is, which is what he was saying. You know, is it lingering when you're moving? Maybe not. Is it lingering if you're, you know, there for a purpose? Probably not.
Well,
You know?
and I believe he was there for a purpose. It was First Amendment protected activity was the purpose, and
Which
I
is why
believe
he
it's
has an argument.
I believe it's also a violation of the 14th Amendment because he's the only one that's been charged with this specific crime. So it's like no
Right, and
protection under the law.
right, and strangely enough, they denied me a First Amendment defense in the trial, which is another ground that we're appealing on. But I mean, you know, when we got to court and you know the
At least you
prosecutor,
had that on the record, right, Rogue? You had it on the record that you tried to use that. So
yeah, oh yeah, no, we submitted the motion to quash before the trial, because you can do a I can't remember what it's called now, but you can submit it all the way up to and even through trial. I can't remember what it is. It's like a motion to dismiss, but they don't have motion to dismiss in Georgia. I can't remember off the
a
top of my
motion
head.
to vacate.
No, because that's after the verdict. I can't recall right off the top of my head, but if you Google something like Georgia motion to dismiss, it should come up with the general parameters of what they use there in Georgia. What kind of it's a demurrer. That's what it is. It's a general demurrer.
That's a weird term.
Yeah. So, you know, when the judge wrote his order back denying it, it was like, okay, so ours was a 13 or 14 page motion, and the judge wrote back, it was like a 3-page order, and it was like, I don't know, like a kid had wrote it, because it basically was like, they told him not to be there. Any reasonable person would realize that they can't be there, and he should have left. And I was like, what the hell does that have to do with any of the points that my lawyer made in the motion? You know, I'm not a lawyer here, but even I'm not stupid enough to believe that order that he passed down was anything resembling coherent and intelligent, you know?
Or lawful.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, no, we're definitely appealing it, and I think we definitely got a real strong case there. It was already decided in one of the appeals courts there in Georgia. It was a civil case, but it was almost the exact same circumstances. There was a reporter. He was in a prison parking lot. He was recording the prison, and he happened to catch an inmate on camera, and the inmate sued him for invasion of privacy. And they went to court, and the judge, you know, denied the lawsuit, said, listen, there's nothing that he could have seen from the parking lot that isn't already public information, like A, your name, B, that you're in prison. You know, that's all public information. So there was no invasion of privacy there. But the judge went on.
That should help your case too. That could help your case as well.
Well, right, because the judge said in that case that he had a lawful right to be in the parking lot gathering the information. He said it was an unsecured parking lot open to the public, no restricted access signs. And this was out of the Georgia Appeals Court in 1985. It was Cox Communication versus Lowe, 1985 Georgia Appeals Court.
That sounds exactly like your case.
Right, and that's what we thought, but they wouldn't, hear nothing about it in the case because it was a civil case and my case was criminal, so they
Right.
wouldn't introduce it. But I mean, still, I don't see how that could not be the prevalent legal theory. You know what I mean? Like it's an open parking lot. There's no trespassing signs. Now they got really hung up on the guard line, but we told them time and time again. I mean, you can even read the statute for the guard line. It says nothing about restricted access, no trespassing, authorized personnel only. The guard line in Georgia is basically a PSA telling people that if you cross this line with drugs, weapons, cell phones, alcohol, with the intent to give it to an inmate, then the charges will be enhanced because you're past the guard line. That's all it means.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a wacky thing going on, but this is to be expected. The good old boy system in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, that stuff's strong, man. That stuff is real strong. You've got families that have been running counties for 100 and 150 years, boss hogging it.
Yeah.
And if you
Well,
don't
and
have
it's
a
very
judge,
good
you're
to
in
see.
them families too.
Yeah,
This
live
reminds me. This reminds me. This reminds me of a case with Lafayette County Audits. They have been trying to run out the clock on all of his lawsuits because they're just keeping him tied up in jail and prison. And he does, and I haven't revealed this to anyone before, but he does have a civil rights attorney that's on this case. And he said, before the time runs out, we will file. So, and I said, well, can you do that? And Rogue just confirmed it today. Absolutely, you can do that.
Yeah, you can file. I mean, you can always file your civil lawsuit whenever the damages occur, when the incident occurs. But there's all kinds of different timeline statutes about how you can do it and when you can do it.
And he said it's really going to be an uphill battle if we can't get, charges dismissed and cases dismissed and things like that. But he said it's not impossible to win. It's very possible you could still win. So he's a really good attorney too. So
Hey, Ray.
And with that being said, I do want to welcome Culture Club back and thank her for bringing some of her subscribers. This is how
nice.
we get the word out
Thank
is
you.
by sharing, having other people who may not be in the quote unquote community come over and listen, and maybe we'll plant a seed in their brain that goes, hey, this isn't right. We need to get the word out. So thank you, Culture Club. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I was
thanks.
never going to do that to myself, Stephanie. I was never going to do that.
Speaking
Hey,
of
Ray.
lawsuits, I know a lot of people haven't heard this yet because I'm not going to announce it publicly all the way until tomorrow. But tomorrow Tiffany and I will be doing a major announcement on our lawsuit.
Awesome. I can't wait.
I know you didn't know that yet, Rogue, so that's for you too, buddy. I hope you're there.
Oh, I
Yeah,
am. I'm
Rogue.
just sitting back and listening.
Just last year, Rogue, I got the Georgia Bureau of Investigations and the Georgia Department of Public Safety to name ADA Title II coordinators.
Yeah, I think that's a big part that a lot of auditors are missing. Also, I don't know if you guys saw the video that auditing Erie County put out with his buddy up there, where they went into the assessor's office and was questioning the assessed values of properties. You know, we need in the community, we need specialized people that can help pinpoint some of this stuff, right? Because I'm no forensic accountant, you know, and that's where a lot of this hustle's going to come down to is the books. So we definitely need to find some specialized people to help out, you know, even, you know, obviously paying them or whatever, but we need that definitely, you know, maybe even some private investigators, you know, because hell, I'd pay a private investigator to you know, to follow the mayor around and see what kind of dirty deals he's doing, you know, that kind of stuff.
I'm an ex-SLED licensed private investigator.
See, there you go. There you go. Absolutely. So there was actually a case where the mayor was sleeping with one of the police officers in the police department. I believe he was cheating on his wife or whatever, but there was a private investigator that was following them. And, you know, they tried charging them. You know, I can't remember what they tried charging them with, stalking or, you know, some kind of charge of that nature. But the
Right.
court was like, no, you're a public official. They were doing it in the process of gathering information to disseminate to the public. So they were protected. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of these guys that are doing these kind of things, they're walking on really thin ice, and they're like I've always said, you know, if I win the lottery, like these guys, their days are over. You know, it's just we don't have the funding that the big guys do to go and sit outside the mayor's house for 36 hours and see everybody that comes and goes, and you know, see who's handling them, you know, big manila envelopes full of money and, you know, stuff like that. We don't have the time to do that because again, it boils down to the money, the resources, you know. So these guys are pretty lucky that, you know, the movement to me is still in its infancy, right? Sure, it's been
Yeah.
going on 10 years, but I mean, this is something, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be going on the rest of, you know, America's history, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm alive, you know?
It's
So,
people like you that inspire others to do the same.
Give me just a second. Bad Apple Media, please turn your camera on so we can see who you are.
Does anybody know
Um,
who that is?
And Aussie Nathan, welcome in. As soon as I get the StreamYards link for Sunday, I will get that over to you.
Do you have a shirt on?
He doesn't have a shirt on. We need to have a shirt on, and in the private chat, you need to put your name. Otherwise, you're not coming up. Sorry.
But yeah, Rogue, I totally agree that, you know, we've been like this movement is in its infancy. And by movement, I mean we are actually not just talking about it, not just pretending somebody else is doing it. We are starting a movement in which government oversight by the people is being practiced, and it needs to grow. It wasn't really happening like everybody thought 10 years ago. It is now, though. The people are starting to watch.
right, of course. Yeah, no, I, you know, put out videos every day of new people that are going to the city councils and, you know, questioning their spending. And I just put out a video today where a gentleman pro se took the bank to the state Supreme Court and won. So, and, you know, just like it says right on his channel, you know, it's not, you know, it's not impossible to win, but, you know, they make it extremely hard. You know, if you're dedicated to, you know, making people accountable, you know, and you know, practicing, you know, pretty much what you preach, then you know, you should be learning, you know, if not the basics, I mean the whole thing, you know, like I said, we can only do better by learning, things that impact our lives in very meaningful ways, and that would be the law. Like if you could prioritize what you need to know in order to get through life easier, the law would definitely have to be in everybody's top choices, right? Because the law impacts you in so many ways, from your home to your job to your driving to, any voting,
Everything.
flying. I'm
Even fishing and
surprised there's
hunting.
not a statue about pooping yet.
Are you sure? Because I bet you can't poop on the street.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there's no public pooping. No, yeah, and so you mentioned auditing the Erie County. I noticed a news story yesterday about an Erie County prosecutor being arrested for allegedly sharing information about cases. And I was, I don't know if I'm, it's like, whoa, and they fired him and they didn't present any kind of evidence or anything. I wonder if he was getting information and getting ready to be a whistleblower. Yeah.
No, I know that case.
You do?
So,
Okay.
yeah, what it was is the prosecutor had a lifelong buddy whose phone number crossed his desk in an investigation, and he contacted his buddy and said, "Hey, man, your number's in this investigation."
Oh, then yeah, he definitely should not
He
have done
violated
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the point is good because it the reason I just studied that case is because I'm looking for more information on government employees who are actually getting action taken against them for interference in investigations. Because as you all know, this Secret Service lady just got nailed. I mean, nailed to the wall. And I found it interesting that the entire Congress was demanding that information that was in investigation be presented in that public hearing. I thought, wow, if she does spill some beans, are they going to put handcuffs on her before she leaves the room? Because it would be illegal.
Yeah. It's a crazy world we live in, man.
It is. We got laws against laws that go against each other.
Yeah.
And then government officials who are demanding law being broken when it benefits them.
Yeah, isn't that kind of what they do though? If it benefits them, then they prosecute. If it doesn't benefit them or can make them look bad, then they prosecute. But if it doesn't, did I say that right? I think I got that confused.
Yeah, you did. But
You
here's the
just know
thing.
what I'm
The
saying.
problem is,
Yeah.
the whole world is under this belief system that if a congressperson is saying to do it, it must not be illegal because they don't know the law. Like Grog said,
Yep.
education. That's where we're failing right now. The public, the nation, and its citizens are failing in knowing the law and the rights.
Right,
starting with the rights.
But it's not a failure so much on the part of the population, right? There's sympathy to be had because they don't realize that the system that they're trusting to educate them is set up to pretty much dumb them down. It's not set up to make 330 million Mensa members that just sit around at the gas station and question every move the government makes. That's not the government's. We got to think. Got to think logically here. What would benefit the government to have, every member of its society highly educated and questioning its every move? How there could be no corruption then. So it behooves the government and corporations to dumb Americans down to the point of where they can push a button, fax a questionnaire or do something menial like that. That's why you see, the switch to, service jobs in America the last 20 years, instead of actually even doing, even pushing buttons now. You know, you're at the register just scanning shit now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you ready to come up, Bad Apples?
You
Bad
can
Apple
turn your
Media,
camera off.
if you like.
Hey,
Give me a thumbs up if you're ready, because we can't hear you.
let me ask you guys.
Okay,
have
here you
you guys
go.
been following the debacle coming out of Elk County, Kansas, with the Walker case, and apparently now the fact that Lawrence Accountability and the dreaded rabble rouser are supposedly getting charged with government interrupting government functions out there?
I mean, you know how I feel about it. That's another just pretty much catch-all charge. I mean, you might as well just have arrested them for disorderly conduct, as
Trespass.
far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I mean, when you get down to the meat and potatoes of the statute and the elements needed in order for a jury to convict, I don't think they're going to wear it like a suit. You know what I mean? It's going to be like OJ, the glove don't fit.
Well, I guess that kind of brings up my next question, though, because you have a prosecutor out there who clearly was the one that divulged the information, the HIPAA information, and she did it in a YouTube channel out of the 13th District Court, because that was televised on their own YouTube channel, right? And then made those claims against Lawrence Accountability, Kansas Freedom News, and the dreaded rabble rouser. So are we to assume that that prosecutor is that naive that she didn't even realize that she was televising that pretrial hearing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're definitely dirty. They're definitely
Yeah.
dirty, and they're you know, they're going to do whatever, I think, sway the public, right? Because that's what it boils down to now, is a PR battle, right?
Yeah,
So now
right.
we're getting into the phase where it's a PR battle, and they're going to start using our videos and other people against us to try to
Yes.
pigeonhole us as some kind of anti-government extremists.
Yes.
You know, something along those lines, because then the masses will easily, you know, toss us aside and you know, not listen to anything that we have to say.
Wait, whoa. Hold on, Rogue. Sorry, I got to stop it. Did you say they're going to start doing that?
Well,
Like
I mean,
in the
they have been, but I don't think it's I don't think it's at a scale that like
not a
sovereign
trend yet.
citizen,
No,
right?
there's very few idiots in the government that are doing it so far, but it's starting to happen. I mean,
Yep.
look at me. I got a government official, an elected official, believe it or not, who has co-owned and ran a YouTube channel for the past year that's designed to do nothing but attack me and Tiffany and her kids. A government official running the YouTube channel, you know. So like, the question is,
eventually, if it works, it'll become a trend.
Well,
I know
Right,
that
yeah.
DMA
That's what
had
I'm
a
starting
couple
to
of government officials go on a frauditor type channel to try to downgrade DMA and Regan Benson.
what
Yeah.
happened to
to
Rhodes a
the
long
council
time
meeting.
ago with that guy that, what was his name? George, I can't remember his name. That idiot.
Legalize.
Gary, whatever. Gary
The one
Snow.
that used his channel to bring a government official on about you. That happened a long time ago.
I don't even remember now, but Georgia Transparencies had it happen too on with the mayor there of Grantville.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, if you were to ask an average American on the street what a sovereign citizen is, they'd most likely be able to tell you, right? I'd
I
say
can tell
probably,
you.
yeah, 60 to 70% at least.
I
if
can
you
tell
were
you
to-
who sovereign citizens are right now. Cops, they're sovereign.
Right.
Well, right.
Judges,
But
government employees.
what I'm saying is the government has made a concentrated effort, PR effort, to ostracize those people.
Yep.
And again, they haven't started yet on us, and they have started on people like FPS and small instances. But if you were to walk down the street anywhere USA and ask about First Amendment auditing, you're going to get a blank stare like 99% of the time, right? Because it just hasn't reached the American attention yet, right? And so, and I could see in the next 10 years, there's going to be a battle between what the face looks like. You know, are people going to accept, you know, that you know, us and other people like us, and even them maybe, can go out there and hold the government accountable? Or are they going to go with the, you know, trust the government, they love me, these guys are just harassing them, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, these are dangerous criminals, and they're all felons, and that's why they act the way they act, and they got chips on their shoulders against every police officer and judge in the nation. That's what they're trying to do, is paint.
Can I interject on
that's
that?
not true.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let Bad Apple Media. He hasn't had a chance to talk yet. So he's probably got some strong opinions.
Thanks for letting me in. Appreciate you letting me up. Appreciate Cammed Up Caveman for vouching for me, even though I was shirtless. It's hot here, but no, what Chris was just saying. He was just saying about the system and how. Anyways, you know, I'm not on here to try to do it all about me. But I'll tell you what, you know, I started watching YouTube, you know, the videos with, you know, like James Freeman and Eric Brandt way back when, you know, when they first started doing it, and it was like, you know, stuff was going viral. And I'm like, wow, man, there was actually a whole bunch of group of people that are really, you know, out there who could possibly, they're going through the same shit that I've been going through. But I've been going through this shit my entire life. All my friends, you know, it's been like nonstop. So all of the shit that I've been through because of the corrupt cops and the system, they have now turned me into something I'm not because of their little cult, their gang, you know, putting your name on lists and shit kind of stuff, right? Well, when they look me up, literally, I got proof. I'm not making it up. I got it in police reports where when they type in my plate number, no matter, I've expunged my one and only felony. I'm a CPL holder, you know, so I'm following their corporate rules. But when they punch in my plate number, it shows that I'm a dangerous, you know, I'm officer safety caution warning.
Yeah, you're flagged.
Oh, so you got to make sure you keep your hands on the steering wheel when you get pulled over. I mean,
I keep if I got my firearm on me, it's put away. I hand them my CPL ID along with it, but I haven't got pulled over in a long time. But nonetheless, I know that they can see it, and it was used against me multiple times. I went to prison back in 2002 with corrupt cops. You know, the long story, but that's where, you know, the shit started, you know what I mean? So, and I just put up, anyways, I agree with Chris where they say that they put the, you know, your name out there. I'm a sovereign citizen now, according to emails that I got through a FOIA request here in Michigan, Oakland County.
Yeah, we all know
me
that
a sovereign citizen. So
are the cops. So they're projecting.
Well, I'm not a sovereign citizen because I never declare myself, and I know the difference between
the government is projecting, you know, what they
and
are.
Citizen.
Yeah.
Well, I agree that they are sovereign citizens, but when I will say something, people ain't, and I've come to this conclusion after a lifetime of this shit. And I apologize for swearing. I came to a conclusion a lifetime of this. I feel like I'm targeted, okay, by the cops,
and we believe you absolutely.
And so, having this experience my entire life, I've got a little insight. You know, not saying that anybody's experience is less than mine, but I've been doing this my entire life. I'm 56 here.
There's a lot of people,
in a month,
bad apples, that are going through the
Bad
same
Apple.
thing that you're going through. Absolutely.
Well,
Bad Apple.
Well,
do you
I'm suing
remember-
them. Yeah, go ahead. What's that?
Do you remember when I went to the Indiana State Police Post 45 and Tiffany noticed that my picture was hanging up on the wall right by the window to service?
Yeah, that's the kind of shit they do. I went up, dude. I got the conviction integrity unit. I don't know, one of the guys who's in the unit, like one of the higher ups.
What a contradiction!
I had an hour. Yeah, I had an hour. Right, I had an hour conversation with this clown. after I was acquitted for an unlawful arrest and charged with felony resisting and all that shit, right? And it went on for 2 years. So I beat it. I was swatted a week earlier than when I was arrested by, a bunch of people online, YouTubers, essentially, not First Amendment guys, but other channels, other genre shit. But
Probably Wrangler
nonetheless,
type channels. Yeah. Product Wranglers.
well, it was kind of like that, but not, totally different.
Yeah.
Not part of the conversation right now. But having all this experience and then suing these guys right now, I was tased in the back while I was on my knees from 12 feet away. This clown made up a bunch. They got the Detroit. There's so much crap I can't even begin to tell you guys.
Yeah.
But I am suing. I know Rogue Nation. He's filed his own lawsuits. I filed pro se. I know Chris, you filed pro se.
Wanda
And-
Myers filed pro se. Mhm.
Well, a lot of people have. But
Yeah.
I want
in
to
my-
be clear. I filed pro se, but we found law firm to take it over. Yeah.
Well, that's thankfully you did.
Yeah,
You know?
because we had already started
And-
making clerical mistakes that cost us.
And
like
that's
six
what I was
figures.
just about to say. Is hopefully
where
that they
I chime
actually
in.
pay attention. So I ended up finding a lawyer too. The lawyer that I found was my last ditch effort. You guys would never believe I contacted hundreds of lawyers. I had contracts with lawyers. One lawyer represented Uncovering America, which is a small channel here in Michigan. I got the lawyer that helped him get a settlement out of Roseville for an unlawful arrest in the courthouse while he was in there recording. So
You
he
talking
turned me
Ozzy?
on to, Ozzy, exactly. So Ozzy turned me on to his attorney, and I called him, which is this dickhead Johnny Hawkins. You guys can look him up, and he's got these goofy commercials with Judge Mathis promoting them now here in the Detroit area. But anyways, I've been through lawyers up the ass. Well, my lawyer that I currently got, I filed pro se. I made it all the way to in a federal case. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem, is they get you when you don't know what you're doing. So I filed. I ended up refiling an amended complaint. Long story short, I got past the motion to dismiss and was in the discovery phase. I knew that I wanted to depose the dickhead deputy, but at the same time, I was on a search for a lawyer. The last lawyer that I called was a lawyer that I found because I was doing my own legal work, and I was looking up my buddy's case. I have a buddy of mine who spent time in prison for a crime he didn't commit, and the University of Michigan Innocence Project got him out. And then he sued, and he got Jeffrey Feiger, one of his lawyers. Long story short, I dug up a document that had a lawyer's name on it that I've never seen before. And I'm like, damn, I wonder. And my buddy Jeff, the one who got out by the University of Michigan, he died because he got COVID and didn't want to go to the hospital because he didn't trust the government. So anyways, he died. But nonetheless, I call his attorney, get a hold of the guy, tell him who I am, whole 9 yards. I tell him, you're my last option. Jeff led me to you through his documents because I was getting ready to answer interrogatories, if you guys know what those are, of course. So anyways, this lawyer, now he's representing me, and what, there's no way, and this is the point I want to get to. This guy, the lawyer that I got, he's like 70 years old. He's an old Jewish guy. He's been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? So he's really good. I looked up all of his cases on Pacer. I found him on Pacer because I seen his name. I looked him up, and I seen that he filed a lawsuit on a city of Wayne. He was driving, and the cop lied, and he filed a civil suit. I mean, not a civil suit, but he filed a suit in federal court on perjury where the cop lied, and he beat him and got the ticket overturned. So I'm like, this is the guy that I need right here, because he helped my buddy too. So
it's important to do your research. Yeah.
The long story short, there's no freaking way that me, pro se, trying to have a full-time job, live a life, could ever, because I don't speak legalese, could ever battle the corporate lawyer who's representing the dipstick deputy who tased me in the back from 12 feet away and lied about everything and maliciously prosecuted me for 2 years.
Yep. And somebody
We
that
got
just
the Detroit
joined the panel
News
would
involved. We
want
got
to
people that
say about
take
this as
PTOs
well.
out on it.
So we're going to give him a chance to talk. The Angry Vet. Go ahead, brother.
What's up?
What's up, brother?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
I'm that guy. I'll fucking take on those fucking corporate bastards. Guaranteed. Fuck them all.
Well,
If anybody out
Fact.
there is pro
It's a
se and they
fact.
need help, I'm your guy.
well, I'll show you guys my suits, and you'd have a heart attack at what, dude. They were trying to bring up stuff claiming they had probable cause because there's a law on the books that the county suit, because I got two suits going. The county lawyer is representing the deputy in both cases, in the federal and in the county suit. And the county suit's moving faster than the federal suit because the federal suit's kind of like in limbo. I think it's kind of like on purpose. They're waiting to see what happens. But nonetheless, the amount of paperwork and the arguments and the shit that they're bringing up, they're claiming that they could have arrested me for stalking because I went and checked the cop.
Oh yeah, that's on the playbook, of course.
And so my lawyer's got to argue this. So if I was doing this, there's no way I could have argued the argument that my lawyer put together. There's no way I could have
You
done
don't
it.
have to. You don't have to. And that's the whole beauty of this nonprofit that I created, because I went through everything from start to finish. I'm on the last nail of the feds, I'm putting the last nail in the coffin, and I'm going to make I'm going to make the AG, the Maryland AG, look like a fucking moron when I'm done with her. And then I'm going to take the judges off the benches that stepped outside their jurisdiction that I got, if you don't do it right, then there's going to be absolutely no accountability. And you might win, but you're not going to get any accountability. And that is what the problem is with pro se fighting, is all these little tiny little back doors and shit like that nobody knows about, but only the judicial system knows about it. If you don't have someone with a lot of experience in the feds and in the court system, not just a regular lawyer, but somebody that has been in the federal system for such a long time, that they know all these things, and they know all these caveats. They know what they're gonna answer, and they write motions in response to what they already know what their answers are gonna be. And
exactly.
That's the problem with some of these fucking YouTube lawyers out here, like DUI guy, CJ Grisham, Michael Elon, all these guys that claim they want to be helping the fucking community, but all they're doing is running around with their fucking heads up their asses,
helping their pocket.
But yeah, exactly. Taking $2,500 here, taking $2,500 there, not following through with shit, writing fucking 1983s for people that aren't even their fucking clients, doing all kinds of stupid fucking shit. And that's what we have to fucking deal with. And I'm sorry that I'm so passionate about this right now, but it was the perfect fucking opportunity for me to come up here and say this shit, because everybody on this fucking panel knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Like, I literally had a fucking lawyer that I paid $30,000 for quit on me 6 days before a fucking trial.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm
Well,
literally
same thing
going
happened to
through
me.
it.
Yep.
A lot of shyster
And
lawyers out there.
Another example, Tiffany and I, after the raid, talking about a woman walking into an attorney's office with a back brace on, with a broken spine. We walk into an attorney's office and say, yeah, we'll take your case, give us your money, and then didn't even file.
That's typical. Hey, Angry Vet, let me ask you a question. What type of approach are you filing? Are you what court are you filing in?
Oh shit, bro! It's going.
And what are you going? I know that you're from Paul and Slaves area, aren't you?
Where is that? I'm in Maryland.
No, I don't mean his area. I mean you're familiar with him, right? That's the kind of. I think I've heard your name over there. You know Josh, Broken System, right?
Yeah, I've seen those guys work before, but I don't really watch a whole lot of Paul and Slave, because he's like really, really deep into the fucking sovereign bullshit. And,
well, that's where I thought you were coming from. I wasn't sure. I
No,
apologize. I'm mistaking your name.
he rolls with like 6 Oaks, so it's legit law. It's not, removing the judge off the bench because it's on the sea.
yeah, we'll see it. I'm not doing it right now, but it's gonna fucking
No, it's
happen.
over jurisdiction though.
Yeah, he
It's
is
over
jurisdictional. Yeah, absolutely. That's one area
Absolutely.
that you
I
can't
have
not be
probably one of the
considered a
largest.
sovereign citizen for doing it either.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
probably. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I have a very, very serious case that's gonna create some serious fucking change. Probably gonna liberate every veteran in the nation, and we're going to make some change with this shit.
Yep.
And hopefully this story, my story, when it's all said and done, will kind of help people, see how to, like, in all honesty, I want scars to be educational. We're going to start putting educational pieces up and how laws are supposed to fucking work and what you need to look for and in backdoor fucking motions and shit like that the fucking judges are trying to fucking squeeze through, the
More
fucking
education.
prosecutors are trying to squeeze through and shit on you. It's dirty as fuck, bro. Like I can't even, if I didn't have 6 Oaks on my fucking side, I would be in jail already. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be able to fight my fucking fight. And that's what they want. Like, I literally caught my fucking lawyer working with the fucking prosecutor.
Well, join the
You know
club.
what I mean?
We do have, I want to do some housekeeping here. We do have another new guest on the panel that's actually going to be our guest on Sunday's show. Aussie Nation, how you doing?
Nathan. Yeah, good, buddy. Good, Cliff. Yourself, mate.
What's happening, Aussie?
Love you,
So do you have
Aussie.
anything to add to the conversation
Vet.
here?
What's happening, brother? Angry Vet. Good to see you, bro. It's been a while.
Been a minute, yeah.
It's been a minute.
So who's Chris 6 Oaks? That's my question.
He is my he's my right hand man. He's my number 2 for the nonprofit.
Okay. Is he a knowledgeable guy? I don't know.
He's pretty
He's
straightforward.
very knowledgeable and
Mhm.
straightforward, and he is very intelligent and capable of finding all of these loopholes and backdoor dealings that go on.
Yeah,
Corners,
it
Corners,
does.
Corners News does a lot of good work too, man. Like he digs deep. I like Corners News.
Because when an AG comes at you
with his
with
pro
an
se.
answer, an AG or a state's attorney or whatever comes at you with an answer and just throws a bunch of fucking nothing burgers at you with all this case law, backing this up and backing that up and doing this and doing that. Pro se litigant is like, what the fuck? How do I find half of this shit? Well, I mean, it takes the kind of mind to like skip over this case law so you don't have to read that whole thing, skip over that case law so you don't have to read that thing, knowing in the back of your mind, like with somebody that has the experience, oh, I know what that law, I've read that before, I've read that case law before, that's bullshit, or vice versa, we need this case law. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's
and the resources to shepherdize the response.
Yes.
And so, since I already know the background of 6 Oaks, can you just tell us a little bit about his background? Where does he come from? Where does all this stem from?
He's had well over a couple decades in the federal system. A bar card, lawyer.
So he used to be an attorney, or
yes.
Is he practicing? Is he still a bar member, or no?
I'm not going to get too far more into
that's not relevant.
that.
I don't care. As long as he's willing to fight the good fight, that's all that matters.
Exactly, yeah. And he wanted to. When I met him, little backstory, if you want backstory. When I met him, I was just starting to go through all this stuff, and I was bouncing, the stuff that my lawyer was doing off of everybody that I could think of, and
Arm with Harmony, I have a lot of things that pop into my head. More questions keep coming up as questions get answered. So yes, go ahead, Angry Vet.
so he kind of guided me with what needs to be said, how to do this, because I didn't want to fire my lawyer. I'd paid a lot of money for him, and he rooted it out. He rooted out the ignorance that my lawyer was doing, and we literally caught him in the act of some atrocious shit, and I called him out on it, and he quit on me. And without him, I think it was a necessary evil, I guess you could call it. Like, I don't want to say it's the best thing that ever happened to me, but we got more done pro se than my lawyer ever even thought about fucking doing. And that made me a fucking believer, like, what the fuck? And going through this whole trials and tribulations, I learned so much about the corruption and what laws are the ones you need to apply. And not only that, but how to apply them. Like, once you're up in the federal level, it doesn't matter if you're right. It's how you present it. Like, it's how you write it. You could write it in two different ways, and one way it's going to be tossed, and the other
And how
way,
to choose your argument. Rogue Nation has a perfect example of that with the Social Security Administration, between him and how he argued his argument and how DMA argued his argument.
Right.
In two very similar cases, I believe. So
Well,
Yeah,
listen,
we'll-
you're
we'll
just talking
attack
about you're just talking about the meat and potatoes of the argument. Okay, there's a whole process that requires filing and filing and filing and responding and responding and responding. And each time you have to do that, each and every time you have to do that, you're back at square one in learning that process from zilch. So I mean, to the common person, like me and Tiffany tried, we filed a great filing. Like, the filing was great. We got a lot of compliments from highly regarded attorneys on our claim. How the way we did every bit of that, which is a whole bracket full of knowledge on its own.
it
And
saved
then
them a lot of work, as from what I understand.
And then we started going back and forth in the process after filing the claim. And within, I don't know, a couple months, we made a huge clerical mistake and lost 6 figures, right there from just one mistake. And that's how easy you can fuck it up and not even be to the argument yet.
right? Not
We
even
weren't
be
even
the merits.
arguing.
Like, we're not even to the merits. Like,
You have to understand the whole process.
Yeah, they've played
Yeah.
so many games with my emergency petition that they haven't even gotten to the merits yet. Like,
And-
it's crazy.
And that goes
These
along with
things
the
take years.
question from MMS. How did you finish the case with no lawyer? Which, as far as I know, the case has not been finished
Adjudicated.
yet. But how can the lawyer drop out like that after they've been paid? And I actually have that question too. If the lawyer's
Well-
been paid, then how can they drop out ethically?
6 days
I'll-
before your
I'll
trial.
I'll send you the email that he sent me. Like, I literally, so I'll tell you exactly how it went down. I caught him red-handed. I walk into his office. I'm pissed, right? I'm already pissed. I go in there, and I'm in there to handle some other business for Baltimore County, not Cecil County. And I walk out, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" or something to that extent, or you want to talk about it or whatever. And because he didn't, apparently the motion that he filed, it got denied right away, like 7 minutes after we filed it. He never told me he filed it. And I told him I didn't want to fucking talk about it. I said, I don't want to talk about this right now. He says, okay. So I finish up what I'm doing. I almost get to the door, and he says, hey, why don't you come back here and talk to me like a man? Sit down in front of me and talk to me like a man.
Oh, he was asking for a lot there, boy. Man.
I fucking lost him.
He poked the bear. He poked the bear. He poked the bear.
Fucking door handle. I was almost out of there. And I turned around and I walked back and I square his office and I'm like, you don't want me to fucking sit down, motherfucker. I said, this is the last time you're fucking me. I said, this is the last time you're fucking me. And I walk out of the door and I didn't even make it to my truck. He's calling my father, bro. My father. He's
call your daddy.
Saying, I don't think we can work together anymore. I am no longer your son's lawyer, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And
well, wait a minute. He asked for it and he got it. You talked to him like a man.
And he sends me a fucking email that says, Dear Mr. Soper, I'm so sorry that we couldn't come to an arrangement or some stupid shit, right? I just think you need a lawyer with some more constitutional experience. Thank you and have a great day.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So
in other words, he's saying my lack of constitutional knowledge, which is questionable in the first place, means that it's within your best interest that I back out. That's the way they put it. That way he could, remove himself from liability.
Yep, that's what he. That's exactly why he wrote that. And
now,
whatever.
I want to use this example for the question that was asked earlier. Someone said, "How can a lawyer just back out without violating the ethics?" Well, there you go. That was a good example of how.
Well, I'll tell you something. My knowledge of it, I'm a little experienced in that. Like I said, lifelong bullshit. In 2001, I was arrested for a drug case. A dude I knew set me up to save his own butt. So I started investigating the cops and I busted them. And I caught them all perjuring themselves after a hearing that we had, an evidentiary hearing where they were supposed to bring the snitch in. Long story short, they ended up having an emergency bond hearing, locking me up, raising my bond from 50,000 to 150. I never got out again. But between getting the emergency bond lockup and being sentenced, I was on my see, at that time I was on my third lawyer. That lawyer, I paid him $1,500 as a retainer probably 9-10 months earlier, and he would never take any more money because he kept telling me, oh man, you're getting a raw deal, they're really screwing you and I'm going to do the best I can for you, but blah blah blah, give me the line, right? But he never would take any more money. Well, it got to the point after I got locked up, I went and proved that the cops perjured themselves, gave him the proof that he needed to take to the prosecutor to get them to get off my balls and dismiss the case because the cops perjured themselves and all kinds of other stuff too. Well, that document disappeared. That's when I had the emergency bond hearing. Cops come in and perjured themselves again, and I got locked up. So
let me guess, it was public pretender, right?
No, I paid the guy. I gave him a $1,500 deposit.
Yeah.
That was my third attorney. So, excuse me, my second attorney. Pardon me, my second. I had four. It was my second attorney. So, at sentencing, before sentencing, he came to see me in jail because I was locked up, and he's like, "Well, there's nothing more I can do for you, man. You really pissed these guys off," because I was fucking surveilling them. And I busted them, and I did shit that nobody wouldn't believe anybody did, but I did it. So, anyways, my lawyer brings the deputy or the lieutenant to jail trying to get me to snitch to save my ass. I basically told them all to suck my you-know-what and told my lawyer I was going to beat his ass because I told him I wasn't snitching. So after that, I had a PSI interview because I was going to take a plea deal. Well, they blew that plea deal out of the water. And then right before I was to be sentenced, the lawyer that I had when I was in the back in the holding cell, he quit. tells the judge that I haven't paid him 1 penny and that he can no longer continue to represent me. And the judge cut him loose. Well, he comes into, and I didn't know that that was being said in there, because he came into the back, into the holding cell, and told me that he withdrew because I was getting a raw deal and that he couldn't take the case no more because I needed a better lawyer. He didn't want to represent me. I needed better, basically what he said. Oh, you need a constitutional lawyer. That, you know, so after that happened, I tell my old lady, I'm like, you know, well, he comes in the back and I said, well, dude, you know, you're putting me in a fucking position now. I said, well, I ain't got no money. I said, these guys destroyed me financially. I said, so I'm fucked. I said, I'm screwed. I said, so what am I going to do? I said, I've lost everything. I said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. He told me he'll give me my money back. And he gave me my money back. And now, years later, when I'm in prison, a couple of years later, I get down on a writ. I do my own pro se to try to get resentenced and to get my shit thrown out because I was set up and trapped, blah, blah. I call this idiot from jail. And he's like, oh, he answers the phone. I tell him who it is, and he hangs. Well, he didn't hang up on me then, but I told him what was up. I was like, dude, you lied. You screwed me over. No, I didn't. Dude, I got so much proof. And whether you guys don't know this, I'll tell you, there's no statutes of limitations in filing a complaint against attorneys or to get your money back. So I'll shut up and say that. But
well,
they're all
there's a
criminals,
statute of
and they'll quit in a
limitations for
second.
malpractice. If you need
Oh,
to
yeah.
file,
Yeah. Malpractice, but not with the Attorney Grievance Commission.
Put the documents out there. If what you're saying, what do you? I've never heard of that before. So if you have something in writing, any statutes or something that you can share with the rest of us on that, that would be very helpful to a lot of people, because I'm not the only one that has been fucked over by a lawyer that I paid a lot of money to.
Well, I can only speak for Michigan because I learned that there's no statutes of limitations in Michigan because fellow prisoners who are doing life or they knew this person or that person, they all warned me, do not file fucking Attorney Grievance Commission complaints on these guys while you're in fucking prison serving your term. You got a 20-year tail. They'll contact their buddies and their buddies will contact their buddies and you'll never fucking see the light of day until you finish that 20 fucking year bit. And I was like, man, so I held off. I got one hell of a story.
There's money in it. There's money in it to keep you in prison.
Well, that too. But
MMS has been asking all these questions. What the hell? They do that? They're privatized? They make money on every prisoner? Yeah, they
Yes,
do.
they
Education. Not a lot of people know this stuff.
They make money on your
that's what we
bonds.
have to expose. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
they make
and
money on
MMS
everything to put you away. So
and MMS. That is why we are so glad that Culture Club has brought you guys over here, is because apparently it's an eye-opener to the general American public.
Yeah.
This is things that are going on that the general American public does not see, and that we are trying.
and they're not aware of. Yeah.
That
And
we're
the
trying to
problem,
educate.
yeah, and bear with us, because the problem that we have in translation is that we've been seeing this stuff for so long that we forget how crazy some of the little shit is.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me cut in here real quick, guys, because I gotta get off. But I wanted to say that, you know, if you're gonna, you know, do the kind of work, you know, that me and FPS, Angry Vet and Auditors Aussie and everybody's doing, to me, it's always in your best interest to learn how to do it yourself, right? Because like these guys have said, they've been ripped off by lawyers. No one's going to work as hard for your rights as you will. You can 100% guarantee that. No other man or woman will work as hard as you will to secure your own rights. I don't care what the hell they say. They get, you know, they got a silver tongue, but they're not going to work as hard as you will to make sure that you are, you know, compensated for your pain and suffering, rights violations and such like that. Now, as far as, you know, taking it all in, I want to be clear that, you know, you're going to lose, right? You're going to lose some cases. And that's nothing to be discouraged over. Even some of the best lawyers in America lose cases, right? There's no lawyer that I know of with 100% track record. And if he is, I'd be suspicious that he's paying off judges, right? So
100%.
right. So, you know, take those early losses, learn from them. Civil court is open, just like criminal court. You know, if you're serious about it, drive your ass to the federal courthouse, sit in on some civil proceedings, you know, see the kind of stuff that's going on, you know, associate yourself with the lingo. What does it mean? You know, what are the procedures of, you know, the court, when to file motions, when to file responses? You know, how long do you have for interrogatories, you know, and depositions and, you know, such like that.
Read the cases.
Right. Right. Yeah. If you're focused like we are on the First Amendment, obviously you want to associate yourself with all the case law that surrounds that particular subject, right? You want to know the cases from every circuit, you know, like when someone tells me, you know, Glick versus Knuff, I automatically know this guy he was in the Boston Commons. He was filming the police, right? Or Sharp v. Baltimore. This guy was filming his buddy getting arrested at a sporting event, you know, or, you know, anything of that nature. Alvarez versus 7th District, you know, that's where the ACLU wanted to film the cops, but they had a wiretapping statute in Illinois. So you got to know, you know what I mean? Because, and even if, you know, you're getting help from somebody else, you are going to have to know these arguments, because if you're pro se, you're going to be the one in front of the judge. You're going to be the one in front of the jury. When there's questions to be asked of the officer that violated your rights, you're going to be the one that's doing it. Like, when, you know, for those of the people that didn't get to go to our court date in Orlando with Foshin and me, Foshin went pro se, and he was the one up there asking the questions. You know, he had to put the pieces together so the judge could understand that what we were doing is legal. Because I got to tell you, my lawyer wasn't, you know, the top-notch guy. You know, my lawyer told me, he goes, you know more about this stuff than I do, right? Because he's not focused on First Amendment law, right? He's not focused on the right to gather information, the expectation of privacy in public, wiretapping. You know, my first public defender that I had for the case, we almost came to blows because he said that I was lucky that people weren't suing me for filming them in the Social Security office. It blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. I said, and listen, this guy was no chump. He had won some major cases. He was a good lawyer, right? Yeah. But because they're specialized in certain areas and they don't really get involved in other areas, I mean,
That's right.
It's always in your best interest, if you're an activist, to surround yourself with the law of what you're doing, to make sure that you're right. Because listen, when you're out there on the street, it's a lot different, right? You got to know exactly what you're doing, right? Because if you don't, you'll make a mistake. It'll cost you a year, 2 years, probation, something or other, and it'll just put you in a worse predicament in life generally, you know? So, you know, be smart about it.
And I want to add, real quick, I'm sorry, Chris, just real quick before you all leave, and I just want to add in the same breath as what Rogue was saying. Yes, learn, right? Learn everything, become the master of your own game, but don't learn from somebody that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Learn from the people that have experience. Learn from the people that have been through it. Learn
and have had successes.
Yes.
Learn, teach yourself as well.
Take
Teach yourself. Like all these like lawyers and attorneys that are going to court, they don't know all these case laws off the top of their heads. They don't know nothing, none of the penal laws and the codes that explain. They have to look them all up and research it all to actually represent you. So you can do that all yourself. Exactly the same thing.
Well, you can at very least know the cases that your case revolves around. And check this out. Just in case you're listening to this, you're listening to Rogue and all his knowledge there, and he's saying, read this case law, understand what this case is about, and you know this case is going to happen. Well, check this out.
Yep.
If you enjoy stories, if you enjoy entertainment, I can promise you that if you use Wikipedia to read case law, you will enjoy stories that are factual, that have happened. When you read these cases, it's like reading a story. So, I highly recommend utilizing that
Travis
time to
Hines.
entertain yourself
Travis
with
Hines.
learning case law.
Travis Hines does a lot of good work like that.
I'm definitely
Showing
writing a book
people.
when I'm done with this bullshit. 2 maybe.
100%
even.
angry with it. Yeah, I reckon you got a series of 6.
All right. Well, I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna bounce out. I love you all. Thanks for having me up here. It was good meeting you, Bad Apple. I didn't hear
Nice
from
meeting you, bro.
Phoenix Volunteer ADA. He's got a lot of good information. Go over and see his page. He's constantly putting out information on ADA shit, which we will be getting into with SCARS eventually. But I love you all, Rogue Nation. Cliff, thanks for having me up here. Nikki, thanks for having me up here. John Denicola, love you. And screenshot this motherfucker.
Hi, Tab. Love you. Okay. Now, I had highlighted a comment. It was from MMS about how apparently they are just hearing this kind of stuff for the first time. They've been living in a bubble. This is the
Under a rock.
kind of under, well, not necessarily under a rock, Aussie. The thing is here in America, if it does not affect me or my house or my loved ones, I
That's
don't
how a lot of
see
people
it.
think.
Well, and they're
A
not
lot of people
taught.
think like that, and that happens all over the world. That happens all over the world.
Compartmentalize it.
And they're not
Yeah,
exposed to it because mainstream media doesn't cover it at all.
And
Exactly.
social media
They just don't care. They
compartmentalizes
just don't care. If it
everybody.
don't affect me, who gives a fuck? Pretty much. So.
Well,
Right.
and that's why I'm good to have on the panel, because it didn't affect
many
me
sheep.
until the day they kicked my door in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't
and-
affect you until it does.
Speaking of Foshin, the
Back to
Kung
blue
Fu
till it
Pro
happens
Se
to you.
master there, Foshin in the house, give him
Yeah.
a high five.
Absolutely.
Dude, I gotta
Shout
tell
out
you,
to
I got to hear the
Foshin.
arguments from that Social Security case that you guys laid down, and they were absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And he spoke so eloquently. It was amazing. You can't, it just couldn't put it together any better.
He got
Yeah,
praises
we'll release-
from all, he got
we'll
praises
release
from
the-
all over the place. Done very well.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, we'll release the transcripts and everything so everybody can look them over and see. But yeah, he did a great job. And that's what we need. We need leaders in the community, people that are going to put time and effort into learning this, and then hopefully helping to pass that along. And I guess you could say kind of put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, people don't take stuff to trial. They don't take stuff to appeal. So
Yeah.
And you know
Exactly.
something, Rogue, that kind of brings me to something too. Is you can even start off on the small scale with just like a ticket, and start off there, and you know what I mean, and go in and start fighting those tickets when you get pulled over. Even on those small scales, and going in pro se, you get that taste of what it's like to be in there and fighting for yourself, because there's no better person, like you said, to fight for you than you. And you're going to go in there, and when you get to grill that cop that pulled you over, and you get to embarrass him, right? Or you get to tear him apart, and you get to win that case, there's no better feeling. There really isn't.
Well, just know this. the cop, even on the stand, is more than likely going to lie through their teeth right in front of everybody. So, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
not against
okay.
their
I mean, that's
policy.
part of it, you
Yeah,
know.
it's not against
Hey,
their policy. They can do that.
you guys want to know what I discovered? And I'd like to know if you did as well, Rogue, or anybody else who's filed suit. You know how you go on Pacers, when you file a suit against the city or the county, you get the attorneys' names. Did you ever look up the attorneys, do a search, and find all of their cases for every attorney's name that you found that represents the government?
No, I've
Just
never
out of
never
yeah.
searched up an attorney per se for as far as that goes. I've searched up, you know, attorneys that were working for me, but I've been lucky so far and that goes because when I first started, I had a lawyer that reached out to me, just a really great guy. He didn't handle civil rights issues when he contacted me, but he was getting ready or getting near towards retirement. You know, he had a couple years left, and he had some bad interactions with law enforcement in his life, and so he really supported me and what I stood for. So we made like a business deal where I advertised his law firm under my description of my videos,
Right.
and he would handle any criminal or civil cases I had that came up in Florida.
Right.
And we had a great relationship. As a matter of fact, he was literally 20 feet away from me one time when I got arrested. Him and there was like 3 or 4 other lawyers there that were there to witness the arrest because I had called him and told him, I said, "Hey, I'm going here to get arrested." And he's like, "Well, give me a call and we'll have some witnesses there." So
Yeah.
it just so happened to be him and some other lawyers. So, and we had a great argument that had come out of that because you know, we were in a public area where we were. There were no restrictions, like because you had to go up these stairs in order to. It was like a little waiting area before you got into the Carnival Cruise Line terminal where the TSA searched you before you got on the boat.
Right.
And you didn't need a ticket or anything to go up there, which my lawyer, you know, he said, you know, I could confirm this because I was sitting right there. There was no restrictions for me going up there and sitting down, you know. So we had a really good case on that one. We had done a lot of work on research. I mean, we had pulled, you know, the cruise line contracts that they had with the Port of Tampa. We pulled, you know, every relevant federal law because federal law governs all the ports.
Right.
You know, so
Well, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I
So
don't mean to interrupt you, but no, that's great that's how I found my lawyer, so to speak. But what I was referring to is, have you looked up the corporate lawyers who represent the criminals, the cops? Like
no.
here in Oakland County, I looked like when I got a filing, I had 3 different names on there. So I typed in those names in the Pacer, those lawyers' names, and put in the search criteria, and I found cases associated with them in Oakland County for people who sued. And I started reading cases that the county has defended jailers and deputies from. And there's boatloads of them. And
Yeah.
all of them end up in settlements. All of them who were pro se were dismissed in federal court. Because most of the people that were doing it were, you know, kind of they were handwriting it, whatever. But then what I also discovered here in Michigan, there are several laws for several things, but when you cover up a crime, you're committing a crime. So when somebody settles a civil suit after the cops abuse somebody, the settlement itself is a crime by agreeing to not talk about the crime. Here's some hush hush money. So
Arguable.
all of the corporate lawyers who were representing, all of the lawyers who were representing their clients, even the client technically could be violating the law that the state has on the books with being covering up crime.
You're talking about an open case. That's where the law is on it. So I think that's arguable. I think the point being, hey, as soon as we close this, it's over.
If you read a case, this is my point. And I've read some pretty heinous cases, like you just said. If you want to go on Wikipedia, well, I do it one better. I'm going on Pacer and I'm reading the actual documents that are being filed between the two lawyers, right? That's how I found your case, your lawsuit, Rogue Nation's lawsuit, and everybody else is online. But nonetheless, though that's what it is the story of what happened. And if you get a good lawyer who tells the full story, I've read some shit that was like, how did these son of a beach nut gums even look at themselves in the mirror and say that they're decent human beings? Because they're evil humans. And the fact that the people who these things happen to aren't taking it all away to trial and letting a jury hear it is beyond me. And I blame the lawyers, because the lawyers just want to settle. They don't want it to be exposed.
Well,
Lawyers
okay,
lawyers aren't our friend.
no, hold on,
There's
hold on,
three
hold on.
duties they have. Hold on, let me say this and I'll shut up. They have 3 duties, lawyers do. The first duty, loyalty, is to the court. The second is to the people. And the third is to the client. No,
Yeah,
shut
and I
up.
don't disagree with you on any of the notions that you presented. However, when it comes to the settlement, everyone involved is encouraged to try to resolve it without going to trial. And that's not nefarious. That is because it shouldn't have happened. It should have been resolved without the pressure necessarily from a judge or a jury. And the whole time you're going through the process, it is the court's duty to try to push the parties to do the resolution without being forced. So if the parties can come to a resolution, which is what you know is settlement, then that is them bending back and saying, okay, yep, we fucked up. We're going to be accountable.
All settlements, they'll never admit it. They never admit fault. And that protects them from all their little bullshit.
Well, it does cause more problems that it's not resolved through force of the courts. I don't, like I said, I don't disagree with your notions, because
I wouldn't just describe them as notions, nonetheless. But I'm trying to be funny, but
I see where you're coming from, though. You're saying, hey, out of this comes this negative effect, and you're right. And on the other hand, I'm just pointing out that there's 2 sides to that coin. There's a purpose for it being that way that is not intended to be negative. And I just want to make sure I point out both sides.
I hear you, but if the conversation,
especially since I just settled mine, you know what I'm saying?
If the conversation was just talking about accountability and yada yada, right? And I'm not settling my lawsuit. I don't care if I lose at trial. I lose at trial, but I'm not settling. But what I got an issue with is when I'm reading these stories, these lawsuits, I'm reading crimes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm reading. I'm reading crimes, because lawyers don't take cases that they don't think they're going to lose. They don't want nothing to do with that. So
I gotta bounce, guys. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I gotta bounce.
I'm with that. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I got to get out of here. I heard the pitter patter from my grandson. I got to go check on him.
Good night, Rogue.
All right. So, Rogue, good night. Thanks for coming up on the panel. Same.
Hey, Rogue, I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow. I got an update for you. You'll be interested in.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before I go, I'll give everybody a short update. Tomorrow, I'm moving right across the street from Wright's Crispy. So we're gonna have a lockdown up there, but so give me a call tomorrow, Chris. But I'll be moving, but I'll still make a couple minutes to chit chat. And qualified immunity had asked a question 30 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago about pro se handbooks, and I just want to let everybody know that if you go to your local district court website, they usually have a litigants without lawyers type pro se handbook that you can download and read to help get you going. But other than that, thanks guys, and I'll see everybody around. All right,
thanks.
Thanks for being here, Rogue. Good night, John. Are you leaving too, John?
Yeah, my grandson is running around up here. I got to go check on him.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Hey,
Pleasure, John.
Take care.
thanks for showing up,
Later,
Joe.
brother.
Yeah, everybody has their own personal lives, and we've actually been on for what now, 3.5 hours, right? Great show, man. I love the discussion. I don't want it to end, but I have to ask Nikki. I mean, you know, but and I'm not sure we should if we shouldn't end it anyway. It's you know.
I think maybe we should end it. And, I mean, it's been 3.5 hours. It has been educational. It has been
Absolutely.
interesting.
And we educated some people tonight, which is awesome.
We did. And I'm thinking that maybe we should do this kind of
More
thing
often.
more often.
Absolutely. I agree. So here we are. We're making plans as partners already for the next several shows. So
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone that we do have, where is he? He left it, didn't he? No, Aussie Nation. He is going to be on the channel Sunday for our Sunday show at 12:30 Mountain Time, 1:30 Central Time is our our time zone, but it'll be 3:30 in the morning his, right? No,
We're doing it an hour early.
Oh, an hour early. That's right. So it's 11:30 my time. Okay, so we've got that all together, and Ozzy's going to get up early and share his story with us and different laws, different things in Australia that go on too. So we're going to be happy to do that show as well. Thanks, Bad Apple Media, for coming on and giving your opinion on things. We do appreciate your perspective.
Appreciate you guys letting me up.
And of course, for public safety. And of course, Phoenix, our ADA auditor, he's doing great work. And we look
100%.
forward to seeing more of it. And,
Enjoy it.
Cliff, if you'll, would you mind letting me do a little outro here for my portion of this?
Yep, absolutely.
Wait a
please
minute. You're letting a tub waffle do an outro?
Yeah, just for the old tub waffle. No, so I've got a huge announcement from a 4-year category of my channel that Tiffany and I are going to be making tomorrow morning. So, you know, make sure
Now
you
you're
got
in
your
Eastern time
notifications
zone.
set.
You're in Eastern time zone. Do you have a specific time that you're planning on this, or?
Well, no, we don't. But I think we're shooting for like 11 because I got to be at the courthouse at 2.
Okay.
So I think we're going to probably go on at around 11. But yeah, it'll be right around in that area.
And that'll be
10,
Eastern
11, 12
time zone.
o'clock.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right. And with that all said, Aussie Nation, did you have something you wanted to say before we?
I just think thanks for having me up, and I'll see you.
Okay.
On Sunday. Yeah.
On Sunday.
On Monday morning for you.
Take it easy,
Or
Ozzy.
on Monday morning for you, Nathan.
That's a fact.
Well, thanks for hearing the tub
All right, guys.
waffle. Love you guys. Good night.
Love you too.
Later.
All
Take
right.
care,
With
Fred.
that said, I am going to go ahead and play
All
our
right, guys.
outro.
Thanks for letting me up. I got to go. See you.
All right.
Catch you next
Thanks for being here.
Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and play our long outro here to end the stream. And I want everybody in chat. Thank you for all being here. Please hit that like button, subscribe, share. And everyone that was on the panel tonight, please go to their channel, subscribe, share, watch their bodies of work. Everyone that was on the panel tonight, I thought were great. And we look forward to having you many more. And with that said, I am going to go ahead and play our outro right now. It's really long. Here it comes.
In the heart of the Vigilance Committee, where the sun sets low and the spirits run free, we stand together, hand in hand, watching over the sacred land. We're the keepers of the flame. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll never be the same. Through the trials and the tests, we'll high. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll stand tall. Together we'll rise, together we'll fall. We're the keepers of the flame. In the Vigilance Committee, we'll never be the same. Through the trials and the tests, we'll always give our best. In the heart of the Vigilance Committee, where the sun sets low and the spirits run free, we'll stand together, hand in hand, watching over the sacred in the heart of the Vigilance Committee, where the sun sets low and the spirits run free, we'll stand together, hand in hand, watching over the sacred